Chapter 1130. That's right, it's Changyuan Island. Lin Muyu said in a low voice. Changyuan Island is evergreen all year round and has a flat terrain. Furthermore, the island is in the shape of a ring. The inland sea can be used as a safe haven and can anchor at least 3,000 warships, which is enough for us to hide 300,000 troops on Changyuan Island. Changyuan Island is about 240 kilometers away from the celestial pole continent, and it will only take a day to sail there. There are also 2 islands between Changyuan Island and the celestial pole continent called Greenstone Island and Eternal Wind Island. The 3 islands are in a triangular formation. We can use a fleet as bait and set up an ambush on either Eternal Wind Island or Greenstone Island. Once the battle breaks out, the 3 islands will be able to dispatch troops at the same time and form an encirclement, preventing Yangshang's warships from coming in. Xiangyu took a deep breath and said, "Why is Lin General so confident?" "It's not confidence, but planning step by step. This is the best result, and what we need to do is to bring Yangshang into the grave we have dug for him." Qianfeng smiled cheerfully. "The plan must be more thorough, or else it will be difficult to carry it out." "That's right." Lin Muyu sat down, took a sip of green tea, and said, "We will do our best to make the plan even more thorough and perfect." Tang Zhen smiled and said, "We are all prepared. Marshal, please give the order. I need 2 fleets to station at Eternal Wind Island and Greenstone Island as the vanguard, putting on a show to distract Yangshang's attention. Each fleet has about 50,000 people. Who is willing to go?" Everyone was stunned. A mere 50,000 troops was probably not even enough to fill the gaps between Yangshang's 5 million troops. At this time, Qin Yen stood up, cupped his fists, and said, "Big brother, I am willing to lead the 50,000 vanguard troops of the National Army to carry out this mission. Big brother, please allow it." Yen, Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, "Sit down first." "Big brother, you think I can't carry out this mission well?" Qin Yen was a little anxious. In the chaos of the National Army, Qin Yen had always played the role of the antagonist. Qin Yen really wanted to prove his family's loyalty to the empire. "It's not that I can't, but it's not suitable." Lin Muyu smiled and said calmly, Yen, you are naive and straightforward. Once you are in a battle, you will be easily bewitched by your opponent. I need 2 more mature people to carry out this task. Since no one is saying anything, I will take my place. Su Jiantao, Qianfeng, you 2 will carry out this task. Su Jiantao and Qianfeng stood up and cupped their fists. "Yes, Marshal. We will not let you down. You must be extra careful. We will depart tomorrow morning, and I will contact you through the scout bee." "Yes." Qianfeng cupped his fists. "Thank you, Lin General, for your trust in us." "No." Lin Muyu shook her head and smiled. "You are all famous generals of the present age. I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to command a group of famous generals in this unprecedented war." Everyone laughed. In the evening, a speedboat entered the nearby waters and entered the harbor under the protection of 8 Imperial Navy warships. Then, a row of cavalry galloped away and entered the center of the Qin army. "Yao is here?" Lin Muyu was very excited after receiving the news. She led Wei Chou, Feng Jixing, and the others out of the tent. In the distance, Si Kongyao rode over on a warhorse, her face full of joy. "Big brother you." She leapt from her horse and flew into Lin Muyu's embrace, hugging this big brother whom she had not seen for a long time tightly. Tears swirled in her eyes. The pressure she had endured these days was really too great. "Yao, Yao." Lin Muyu helped her wipe her tears and said gently, "Is everyone all right?" "Everyone's fine, everyone's fine." Si Kongyao's shoulders trembled slightly. "But big brother you, our West Mountain province has fallen. I led 150,000 troops to board a ship first. 3 days later, we received news that West Mountain Province has fallen. The Baizai mercenaries left in Shiping City have all taken off their uniforms and fled into the countryside. It's good that you're fine, Lin Muyu gently stroked her hair. When will the troops you brought arrive? They will arrive at Blue Wind Harbor in a day. From now on, you will follow by my side. This war still needs you. MN. At this time, Liu Bai and a few of the Baizai mercenaries' deputy commanders dismounted and knelt on one knee. Greetings, Marshal. Rise. Lin Muyu asked, Bai, how was the situation in the Heavens Pole continent when you left? Yangshang ordered Qin Yu to lead 1,000,000 troops to swallow up our West Mountain Province and Huiyuan Province. They should have already set up defenses along the coast and are preparing to welcome Great Qin's troops. Chen Yu's 1,000,000 troops? Yes. What is Chen Yu like? Feng Jixing asked. Lin Muyu's expression was grave. He has a strategic mind and is extremely cunning. He is an opponent that must be taken seriously. Damn. I originally thought that Yang Shang would personally supervise the battle. I didn't think that he would let Qin Yu lead the troops. This is troublesome. You're swearing, Mu. Tang Xiaoxi said. Alright, sorry. Lin Muyu touched her nose. Feng Jixing frowned. Is Qin Yu really that scary? Yes. Lin Muyu pondered and said, you can say that. If Yangshang is the one leading the troops, 10 Yangshang combined won't be a match for any one of us. But if it's Qin Yu, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to lure Qin Yu's 1,000,000 troops to the sea for a decisive battle. Qin Yu is full of schemes and is a cautious person. He won't attack easily if he doesn't have a 100% chance of winning. Feng Jixing patted his shoulder. It's okay. Qin Yu is a man now, not a god. There will always be flaws. Don't think too much. Arrange the camp for Baizai's mercenaries as soon as possible. Yes. At night, the heavy snow began to fall again. Only Lin Muyu was left in the commander's tent. Facing the flickering candlelight, his eyes lingered on the 3 islands on the map. He murmured, food, according to the plan. Stationing 300,000 troops on Changyuan Island was as difficult as Qianfeng had said. A thorough plan was needed to complete this grand undertaking, and food was the primary problem. The empire didn't have many warships. Large warships could carry an average of 180 people. 4,000 warships of different sizes could transport 300,000 people and about 100,000 warhorses to Changyuan Island. But this also meant that the warships couldn't carry more food and fresh water. It would take at least 5 days to travel from Shattered Cauldron Realm to Changyuan Island. Even if they carried 10 days' worth of rations for each person, by the time they sent 300,000 troops to Changyuan Island, half of the food would have been consumed. It would take at least 20 days for the warships to return and transport the rations. And this was under the optimistic condition that they didn't encounter any storms. Then what would the 300,000 troops eat on the island? They had to hold on for at least half a month. The army couldn't go without food. If the soldiers went hungry, they wouldn't be able to fight, and they might even mutiny. No one wanted to see such an outcome. Lin Muyu had a headache as he racked his brains. Before he knew it, he fell asleep on the table. After an unknown period of time, someone suddenly called him, "Brother, wake up, brother." When he looked up, he saw a scout bee flapping its wings beside his ear. It was Lulu from the Celestial the Arch system. "Lulu, come out." Lin Muyu chuckled. Soon, the scout bee landed on the map and flapped its wings. A beam of light shot out from its back and condensed into the image of Lulu. She was still so cute and flamboyant. Flapping her wings lightly in the air, she said with a smile, "Brother, why aren't you sleeping on the bed?" "Oh, I forgot. Why did Lulu suddenly think of looking for me?" "Brother, you haven't looked for Lulu since you returned to Earth." I thought you didn't want me anymore. Of course not. Brother, you look so depressed. Did you run into some trouble? Lulu clasped her hands together and looked at Lin Muyu with a worried expression. I did run into a problem. What's the problem? Tell Lulu. Transporting rations. Lin Muyu said, I need to transport a large amount of rations to Changyuan Island, but I don't have enough warships. What do I do? Lulu, do you have a way to build some ships for me? Build ships? Lulu blinked. I'm afraid not. It would take too much time. Lulu has been busy planting potatoes during this time and has no time to do anything else. But, if you really want to transport rations, why do you have to build ships? Oh. Lulu has a way? Yes. Lulu flapped her wings and smiled. Did you forget about the scout bees, brother? Back then, the celestial the Arch system created tens of billions of scout bees. There are at least 500 million of them left in Shattered Cauldron Realm. Although a scout bee can only carry a limited amount of weight, it can still carry something the size of a soybean. As for rations, Lulu can break down the dried potatoes into very small pieces and let the scout bees send them to Changyuan Island. Isn't that enough? Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat and she was pleasantly surprised. Yes, why didn't I think of that? Lulu swayed her hips and chuckled as if she was asking for praise. Brother, praise me. Praise me. Lulu is the most capable. Good. Is it Changyuan Island? Lulu has located it. Yes. Soon, Lulu scanned the coordinates of Changyuan Island. Suddenly, the entire island appeared in front of Lin Muyu. The jungles, plains, mountains, and animals on the island appeared in real time. Lulu said, there are no large animals on Changyuan Island. There are 542 medium-sized animals and more than 10,000 small animals. There are 27 caves on the island, and each cave can store about 400 tons of rations. So, Lulu ordered the scout bees to send the rations to these caves? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded heavily. Because of the snow, the rations would definitely be damp and moldy if they were left in the open. It was a good choice to put them in the caves. Whoosh! A beam of light dissipated. Lulu went to work. Lin Muyu was relieved. She turned over, took off her clothes, and covered herself with the quilt. She could finally sleep in peace. Chapter 1131. The next day, the war drums rumbled. Rows of cavalrymen, Pidao soldiers, and archers boarded the ships and set off with the sound of the horn. It was windy from the northwest at this time, so it would take them less than 7 days to reach Greenstone Island and Jiufeng Island. 2 huge battle flags were written with the words Su and Qian. Su Jiantao and Qian Feng stood under the flag with their horses in a dignified manner, waiting for Lin Muyu and Qin Yin to bid farewell. Rustle, rustle, the war drums were getting heavier and heavier. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin stepped on the snow toward the senior generals who were about to set off. Your Highness. Su Jiantao and Qian Feng knelt on one knee at the same time and saluted. Commanders, please dispense with the formalities. Qin Yin raised her hand gracefully and said, this expedition will be extremely dangerous. I hope that both of you will work together and make great contributions to the great Qin Empire. Yes, we understand. Qian Feng looked up at Lin Muyu and asked, Lin General, is there anything else? Yes. Lin Muyu slowly walked forward with her hand on the hilt of her sword and stood side by side with Su Jiantao and Qian Feng. Her eyes fell on the 10 fifth-rank deputy generals behind them. Although their ranks were not high, they were all captaincy and held military power. When they saw Lin Muyu looking at them, they immediately knelt down and said, Greetings, Marshal. Lin Muyu nodded and said calmly, You are all brave generals of the Qin Empire. You are the vanguard of this expedition. Remember, you must listen to the orders of General Su Jiantao and Qianfeng. From today on, you are no longer just generals of the Longdan Army Camp and the National Army, but will be assigned to the Vanguard Camp. You must listen to your superiors in all matters. If you disobey, you will be killed. Do you understand? Yes, Marshal. After all, the 50,000 soldiers assigned to Su Jiantao were transferred from the Longdan Army Camp, while the 50,000 soldiers assigned to Qianfeng were transferred from the National Army. Lin Muyu had to establish their authority first. Otherwise, she might not be able to command these high-ranking generals. Don't worry, Lin General. We will definitely be of one mind and serve the Empire. Qianfeng's eyes were filled with gratitude. After all, Qianfeng was also an extremely intelligent person. He understood Lin Muyu's intentions the moment she spoke. Su Jiantao also cupped his fists and said, "Don't worry, sir. We will definitely complete the mission. Alright, all of you take care. Once the naval battle is over, I'll hold a celebration feast for all of you. Go ahead. Be careful on the way." Yes. The two of them turned around and led their horses away, never looking back again. Very quickly, their figures disappeared into the wind and snow, leaving only the shadows of two azure cloaks swaying in the snow. Dong, 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 the sound of the war drums became louder and louder. 100,000 imperial warriors set off for battle. Qin Yin stood there as if she had lost something. She looked at the East Sea with her beautiful eyes and had mixed feelings in her heart. What's wrong, Xiao Yin? Lin Muyu could see that she was feeling uneasy. Brother Yu, we sent them to the battlefield, but we can't guarantee that we will bring them back alive. Is this fair to them? I feel. Qin Yin bit her red lips and murmured to Lin Muyu, "Sometimes, I feel like a bad woman. For the sake of my own world, I let these people who love me embark on a path of no return." Lin Muyu's heart ached. She stepped forward to hold her shoulders and said, "It's not like that. They are all soldiers, and protecting their homeland is their duty and mission. No one will blame you. You are the Empress, and every soldier feels honored for fighting for you. All the more, you cannot be shaken. The war is only for the sake of a greater rule of the world." Will there really be a greater rule of the world? Yes, it won't be too far away. Lin Muyu coughed, tightened the belt of the robe in front of Qin Yin's chest, and said, "It's cold outside. Let's go back." Okay. Accompanied by Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao, Qin Yin entered the main tent. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu gave Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Chen Xiaoli, and the others a look. Everyone understood tacitly and immediately followed Lin Muyu to the commander's tent. The commander's tent was filled with warmth, and the guards placed the furnaces in one by one. "Lin General!" Xiang Yu shouted. Suddenly, he didn't know what to say and just sat in his seat woodenly. "I know what you want to say, Commander Xiang Yu." Lin Muyu smiled in relief, and said, "We'll set out in 5 days. We'll mobilize 300,000 soldiers to board the warships, and we can start to gather provisions and transport them to the ships now. In addition, these 300,000 soldiers must be the most elite troops of the Empire, and no one is allowed to make up the numbers." "Set out in 5 days?" Tang Zhen frowned. "Our provisions are not ready yet. I ask Lin General to reconsider. We're going to Changyuan Island, that barren land, and not the celestial pole continent. Once we're on Changyuan Island, there won't be any more provisions to speak of. We can't let the 3 armies eat tree bark, right? I've already prepared the rations. Just set off for Changyuan Island." Lin Muyu had absolute confidence in Lulu's efficiency. She was the strongest person in this land. If Lulu started a war of steel, perhaps neither Great Qin nor Great Shang would be able to resist. Feng Jixing said, "You first plan the composition of these 300,000 soldiers?" "Yes." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment, then put the military orders on the table and said slowly, 300,000 soldiers, 100,000 in the Longdan army camp, commanded by Wei Chou. Receive the order. Wei Chou stepped forward, saluted respectfully, and then took the order arrow. Lin Muyu continued, 50,000 elites of the Imperial Army, commanded by Feng Jixing. Receive the order. Feng Jixing stood up, took the order arrow, and said, this subordinate obeys. As for the rest, the State Guarding Army, Ming Shan Army, National Army, Seven Seas Army, Iron Blade Army, and Imperial Navy will each select 25,000 elites. They will be commanded by Tang Zhen, Xiang Yu, Qin Yan, Chen Xiaoli, Qin Yong, and Bai Li Tsang respectively. Yes, Marshal. The 6 of them stood up to receive the order arrow, their faces full of reverence and solemnity. This battle concerned the future fate of the Empire, as well as the future fate of the 3 realms. The war of gods had become a war of mortals. No one knew if these mortals would become gods again in the future. After Lin Muyu finished distributing the prepared order arrows, she pondered for a moment and said, I will oversee the Central Army and advance and retreat together with everyone. This trip must be carried out in secret. Don't let the Celestial Pole Continent know our whereabouts, and even more so, don't let the people of the Celestial Pole Continent know that we are on Changyuan Island. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain. Xiang Yu frowned and said, Marshal, what should we do if the Dragon Knights of the Celestial Pole Continent discover our whereabouts? Don't worry, we also have aerial troops. Lin Muyu said, Commander Xiang Yu, have you forgotten the 8,000 Xingtian army under my command? They ride the undying phoenix and can travel unhindered in the sky. I will order them to patrol the skies around Changyuan Island in advance. Once traces of the Dragon Knights are discovered, they will immediately launch an attack. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the news leaking out. That's great. This subordinate no longer has any doubts. A hint of joy appeared on Xiang Yu's face. Lin Muyu nodded and said, go back and make preparations. Prepare more lifeboats, medicine, and dry rations. In addition, the elite troops of each army must be reorganized. 3 days later, report to me the name list of all Kiliarchs and officers above them. I want to take a look. Yes, Lin General. Everyone left one after another. Only Wei Chou stayed in the commander's tent. He was from the Longdan army camp, and the commander's tent was located in the middle of the Longdan army camp. Naturally, he didn't need to leave. This time, 100,000 of the 300,000 troops were from the Longdan army camp. It was clear that the Longdan army camp was the main force of the war. Wei Chou didn't dare to slack off. He stood up with a cautious expression and said, Sir, are you really not going to bring any Dragon League champions? Yes, the Dragon League is not good at sea battles. I can't send them to their deaths. Then you can at least bring Fuzhou. Yes, you have reminded me. Fuzhou will definitely go with us to Changyuan Island. In addition, Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi will also go with us to oversee the overall situation. If Her Highness Yin also goes, that will be great. She will definitely inspire the 3 armies. You really know how to talk. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She asked, Wei Chou, how is your practice with the Hoi Bao? How far can you draw it now? Wei Chou thought for a moment and said, Sir, please forgive me. When I was still a god, I could draw the bow 1,000 meters, but now I can only draw it about 700 meters. Any further and I can't guarantee that I can hit the enemy, 700 meters. That's enough. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, Remember, you will be on the same ship as me in the sea battle. Leave the command of the Longdan army camp to Situ Sun, Situ Shui, and Fengxi. I want you to advance and retreat with me. When the time comes, I will attract strong enemies to kill me. I will use myself as bait, and you must shoot one at a time. Don't miss me. Cold sweat appeared on Wei Chao's face. I will do my best. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She reached out and patted his shoulder. She said, "Tell me honestly, isn't it especially difficult to be my subordinate?" "That's right," Wei Chou grinned. "It's good that you know it, sir." Lin Muyu smiled. "Brat, this time, I really have to rely on your Hou Yi Bao. The power of the Hou Yi Bao is mysterious. It can break through the dimensional space and achieve unobstructed shooting. It's simply a killer of gods. Yang Shang has so many God Emperor experts under him. We will be under great pressure on the battlefield. It all depends on your performance. Once the battle starts, I will let Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, and Ouyang Yan protect you. You just need to find targets and shoot them. Let Her Highness and the princess protect me together." Wei Chou was dumbfounded. "Sir, why don't you let Her Highness protect me? I'm afraid I will be very nervous, you're so useless. Just stay calm." "Yes, I'll do my best." At this moment, the curtain of the commander's tent was suddenly lifted. Si Kongyao walked in gracefully with Liu Bai and other generals of the Baizhe mercenary troop. She said angrily, "Brother Yu, why don't you assign us, the Baizhe mercenary troop, to battle?" Lin Muyu complained incessantly. "Oh my God, this little lady is here. It's not easy to deal with her." Chapter 1132. "Yao, listen to my explanation." "I won't listen. I won't listen." "Don't be impatient, calm down and listen to me." "I won't listen, I won't listen." Si Kongyao sat angrily on her seat, her beautiful eyes staring at Lin Muyu. She was just short of crossing her slender legs on the table to show off her coquettishness. Liu Bai touched his nose and coughed, saying, "Commander, we're here to argue with Lin General, not to act coquettishly." Wei Chou burst into laughter. "What are you laughing at?" Si Kongyao glared at him with a murderous look. Wei Chou didn't dare to laugh. This young lady was Lin Muyu's sworn sister and held the military power of the 300,000 Baizhe mercenaries. She was an extraordinary person and he couldn't afford to offend her. Si Kongyao continued, "Big brother Yu, tell me clearly, why is there no one from our Baizhe mercenaries among the 300,000 people?" Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed and explained, "I'm thinking for the sake of the Baizhe mercenaries. Think about it, Yao, the Baizhe mercenaries have only come from the celestial pole continent for a day and are exhausted from the long journey. The soldiers' physical strength is already at the limit. I can't continue to let them fight. It's too unfair to them, right? Even if what you say makes sense, I still won't accept it. At least give me 10,000 people. You conscripted my warships but didn't let us go to war with you. This is unreasonable." Lin Muyu was speechless. Wei Chou smiled and said, "Milord, forgive me for being blunt. Since Changyuan Island has enough provisions, why didn't you let Miss Si Kongyao go with you? Besides, we only conscripted less than 500 warships from the Baizhe mercenaries. They still have 700 warships left. These 700 warships can transport more than 100,000 soldiers plus provisions and supplies." Wei Chou lowered his voice and said, "Your Excellency, let me say something unpleasant. Although your plan is thorough, you have forgotten one thing. What will be sent to Changyuan Island through the scout bees is only food for humans. What about the provisions for the warhorses? We have brought nearly 200,000 warhorses, and without fodder, we won't be able to support them. Besides, the weather is freezing, and the soldiers need a lot of charcoal to warm their bodies. The Spirit Fire Department also needs wood to cook. The wood on Changyuan Island will be cut down in 3 days. We still need to bring a large amount of wood and fodder to Changyuan Island." Lin Muyu was surprised and couldn't help but look at Wei Chou. This brat had indeed grown into a great general who could take charge of an area by himself. He still remembered things that even she had neglected. However, he had probably held it in for a long time and only dared to speak up when Sikong Yao appeared. "All right then," Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, "then we'll add another 50,000 soldiers. Yao, choose 50,000 elites from the Baizhe mercenaries to go with me. In addition, these 50,000 elites will only need 300 warships to transport them. Transfer the remaining 400 warships to transport charcoal and provisions. This time, I'll give you a military rank, Chief Logistics Officer. What do you think? Why don't you give me a vanguard official?" Sikong Yao stamped her feet and asked coquettishly. Lu Bai coughed and said, "Big sister, you should know when to stop. A chief logistics officer is still an officer." Sikong Yao pouted and said, "Okay then, it's a deal. You can't go back on your word. Don't worry. Go and prepare quickly. Give me your officer list in 3 days. Okay. Celestial Pole Continent, Shiping City. This city, which originally belonged to Shiping County Lord Sikong Yao, had now fallen into the hands of Yangshang's army. Ever since Chen Yu led his army into the city, the owner of this city had changed. Inside Shiping Prefecture, heavy snow was falling. The guards and attendants were all wearing thick cotton clothes to withstand the abnormal weather. In the depths of the mansion, green smoke drifted from the heaters. A group of officers dressed in the military uniforms of the Shang nation surrounded a huge square table. On the square table was a sand table map of the west coast. Cough, 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 Chen Yu coughed violently. Due to the abnormal weather and the fact that the heavenly punishment had taken away all of his divine power, his physical condition was deteriorating day by day. He placed his palm on the table of the sand table, but his gaze was fixed in the direction of the coastline. He said, "Are there any movements from the Shattered Cauldron realm?" A captaincy cupped his fists and said, reporting to Marshal, "We received news 3 days ago that Lin Muyu has gathered nearly 1 million soldiers in Lingdong province. They seem to be ready to attack us." "Oh?" Chen Yu couldn't help but smile faintly. "Are you sure that Lin Muyu wants to face us head-on and not attack us? This can't be, right?" Captaincy said, "Our Shang dynasty has over 2 million soldiers, while the Qin dynasty only has less than 1 million soldiers. Their military strength is less than half of our army, yet they want to attack us. Isn't this courting death? This can only mean that you don't understand Lin Muyu." Chen Yu's eyes flashed, and he said, "Lin Muyu isn't someone those mediocre so-called famous generals in the various countries of the Celestial Pole Continent can be compared to. He repeatedly comes up with ingenious schemes and foresees the enemy. In the entire Celestial Pole Continent, no one can be compared to him. Even the famous Marshal Gong Shangming of the Tianji Empire was defeated by Lin Muyu." "Marshal, you're exaggerating, aren't you?" On the other side of the sand table, a man wearing a purple cloak slowly stood up from his chair. It was the Lionheart demon god, Philae. His eyes seemed to carry a demonic nature, and his whole body gave off an awe-inspiring evil aura. He smiled and said, "If Lin Muyu was really that powerful, he wouldn't have been suppressed by our army in the Shattered Cauldron realm for so many years. Don't you think so, everyone?" All the generals laughed loudly and repeatedly agreed. Chen Yu frowned and said, "Deputy Marshal Philae might have a point, but the art of war says that those who underestimate the enemy are easily defeated. Therefore, it's best that we don't underestimate Lin Muyu and the Qin army. At the end of the day, Lin Muyu is just a mortal." A divine light shone in Philae's eyes as he sneered arrogantly, "If Lin Muyu really dares to attack the Celestial Pole Continent, I won't wait for him to enter the sea. I'll go there alone and chop off his head. What does Marshal think?" Chen Yu was stunned. He didn't know whether what Philae said was true or not, but he could confirm that Philae was the only god in the entire plane. Furthermore, he was a cruel and ruthless demon god. Only he had the qualifications to say such big words. However, whether he could kill Lin Muyu under the protection of Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others was still unknown. Furthermore, Even if Lin Muyu had lost his divine power, it didn't mean that he didn't have the strength to fight back. There's a plum forest in the backyard of Shiping Prefecture. Furthermore, I've prepared over 10 elegant women who are proficient in the 4 arts. The weather is cold and the plum blossoms are in full bloom. Why doesn't Deputy Marshal Fillet come to the backyard to admire the plum blossoms and drink wine? Said Chen Yu with a smile. Are you expelling me? Asked Fillet, raising his eyebrows. I wouldn't dare. Fillet sneered and circled around Chen Yu's body. That's fine too. You're the punitive expedition marshal appointed by Emperor Shang, and I'm merely the deputy marshal. The military authority of this million-strong army belongs to you. However, Marshal, don't forget that fighting a war is done with fists and not a glib tongue. As he spoke, Fillet turned around and laughed. Commanders, who is willing to go to the backyard with me to admire the plum blossoms? Feel free to come. There were over 10 commanders in the 2 armies. In the end, with a wave of Fillet's arm, there were actually 7 commanders who followed him to the backyard to admire the plum blossoms. Chen Yu clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were bloodshot with anger. Marshal, please calm down. A commander lowered his voice and said, Lord Fillet is Emperor Shang's favorite, and he's also the vanguard general. Even Emperor Shang is somewhat afraid of him. Marshal, you must not provoke him. I know. Let's continue our discussion. Yes, Marshal. Chen Yu coughed violently again and said, when Lin Muyu deploys his troops, he focuses on the word surprise. But no matter how capable he is, he only has so many troops in his hands. Everyone, please watch carefully. Currently, there are over 1 million troops garrisoned in Shiping Prefecture. Si Kongyao has left us a complete province and a well-defended coastline. In the end, if Lin Muyu wants to defeat us, he will have to go ashore. Therefore, we don't need to fight for the sea. Just let the Qin army go ashore. Once they go ashore, they will be outnumbered. The iron hooves and dragon riders of our great Shang army will let Lin Muyu know the tragic outcome of challenging a battle with a great disparity in strength. The group of commanders nodded their heads. Chen Yu emphasized once again, remember, no one is allowed to go out to sea to provoke them. Even more so, do not attempt to engage the Qin army in naval battles. As long as we stabilize our position, Lin Muyu's army will definitely be in disarray. They won't be able to last long without rations. Once their rations run out, it will be time for us to destroy the Qin army in one fell swoop. Yes, Marshal. This time, there was even more conviction in the eyes of the commanders. 3 days later, the Blue Wind Harbor was calm and peaceful. Amidst the curtain of snow, warships left the harbor one after another and sailed into the eastern sea. There wasn't even the sound of war drums. Since early morning, the snow had been getting heavier and heavier. And this heavy snow undoubtedly provided the best cover for the 3 armies to set out. The 350,000 soldiers boarded the warships one after another and left the coast. And the warship that Lin Muyu was on was the last to leave. Almost everyone on this flagship were important people. Qin Yin, Teng Xiaoxi, Wei Chou, Chu Yao, Ouyang Yan, Chang Liang, Feng Zhanlin, Nangong Lai and the others were all on this warship. Heave the anchor, flap the sails. The sergeant shouted loudly. The warship retracted the deck and slowly left the Blue Wind Harbor. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and the others stood at the stern of the ship, watching the mainland getting further and further away. Wei Chou raised his hand to cover his eyes, looked at the camp in the distance, and said, "My lord, are we really not going to tear down so many tents?" "Yes, let the tents remain in their original position." "Why do we do this?" Situ Sun was a little puzzled. Lin Muyu smiled faintly, "It's very simple. No matter how we guard against it, the Dragon Knights of the Heavens Pole continent will definitely be able to investigate everything in Lingdong province. I have already ordered for these tents to be left behind. Every day, there will be people from Lingdong province lighting fires around the tents and pretending that smoke is normal in every camp. Once the Dragon Knights report back to Qinyu, naturally, Qinyu will not suspect that we are not in Lingdong province. In this case, these tents will be our best cover. Lin General is wise. But why do you say that Qinyu might not suspect us? Qinyu, he is an extremely intelligent person. Lin Muyu reached out and pressed her hand into the snow on the side of the ship, feeling the cold, and said, "We must proceed with caution. Otherwise, as long as Qinyu finds any of our flaws, he may consign us to eternal damnation." Chapter 1133. Late at night, nearly 400 miles away from the Winter Ridge province. The waves on the surface of the sea surged, and the most violent part even stirred up waves that were nearly 5 meters high. Although the battleships built by the Empire were all very large, they were still bobbing up and down like small boats, as if they could be capsized by the mysterious power of the sea at any time. Except for the helmsmen, scouts, and soldiers who were keeping watch, most people had already gone into their cabins to rest. The fleet seemed to be very quiet. 3,550,000 people and nearly 4,800 warships were divided into 24 groups, sailing in the ocean according to the echelons. The warships alone had spread for tens of miles on the ocean. Many small lamps were hung on each ship, which were used to communicate with each other and illuminate the flag bearers. The snow stopped again, but the ocean surface grew colder. The waves bumped against the sides of the ships, but were already frozen by the time they landed on the ships. On the deck, every 5 meters, there was a sentry with a sword in their hands. These sentry guards stood like mountains, motionless, not moving even a little bit no matter how the wind blew and how the snow fell. On the deck, a person was standing, wearing a white fox fur cloak. It was Lin Muyu. He placed his hand on the handrail of the ship and closed his eyes. He activated his spirit pulse technique and sensed everything around him at the bottom of the sea. 5 kilometers away, the vanguard fleet led by Feng Jixing was opening up a path. Even further away, there were auras flying at high speed in the air. Those were the patrolling troops of the Xingtian Heavenly Army. The Xingtian Heavenly Army would play an extremely important role in this expedition. The Empire could only rely on them to deal with the dragon riders. In the deep ocean, enormous creatures seemed to be ready to move. They were deep-sea flood dragons. Apart from them, about 10 meters under the ocean, Gong Gong's navy warriors were guarding the fleet with weapons in their hands. They didn't show their heads for the whole day, but they had been guarding the fleet. In fact, no one knew that in the afternoon, over 10 deep-sea flood dragons attempted to attack the fleet, but were all killed by Gong Gong's navy warriors on the bottom of the ocean. Otherwise, another great disturbance would be caused. The spirit pulse magic reached further away, and no power could be sensed at all. Lin Muyu couldn't help but furrow his brows. Had his cultivation fallen to such an extent? He could only sense auras within 5 kilometers. If it were in the past, sensing auras from 1,000 kilometers away would not be an issue. He raised his head and looked up at the sky. There was a faint sound of thunder. Although the heavenly punishment had already descended, it did not seem to have left. The weather was still getting worse by the day. He did not know what was happening in the heaven realm. It felt as if the heaven realm had already changed. Otherwise, the mortal realm would not have such a terrible scene of doomsday. The first demon god had already descended. It was a god. It seemed that the new laws and order had already been established. The future gods would be divided into 3 levels, high, middle, and low. However, if they were all cruel and ruthless demon gods, it would be a nightmare for humans. Where was the future? Lin Muyu took a deep breath and couldn't help but sigh. In the past, when she had the power of an emperor god, she felt that she could control everything. But now, she couldn't anymore. Everyone's fate was in the hands of heaven's will. His Royal Highness is still awake? A gentle voice sounded from behind him. He didn't even need to turn around to know who it was. It was Ouyang Yen. Ouyang, why aren't you sleeping? Lin Muyu asked. Ouyang Yen walked forward and stood side by side with Lin Muyu. As if she felt cold, she put her face on Lin Muyu's shoulder and snuggled up to him. She said, I can't sleep. What about you? I can't sleep either. Lin Muyu looked at the distant waves and asked, why can't you sleep? I'm worried that I won't be able to get married in the future. Ouyang Yan's eyes flashed with slyness. She smiled and asked, what about you? I'm worried that I'll lose the battle, Lin Muyu answered truthfully. Oh my, it's not easy. Our invincible Highness Yu is actually worried that he can't defeat the celestial pole continent. Humph, it seems that your confidence is just an act for others to see. You can say that, Lin Muyu smiled bitterly and asked, Ouyang, have you seen the heavenly punishment before? No, I'm such a young god. How could I have seen this kind of mighty heavenly might? Ouyang Yan's bright eyes stared at Lin Muyu's face. After looking for a while, she smiled and said, I'm afraid that what you're really worried about isn't the battle, but the devil god called Philae from the other side? You're so smart. Lin Muyu glanced at her approvingly and said, the difference in strength between gods and mortals is too great. Back then, Luo Lan, a mere false god, was able to destroy our mountains and rivers. Now, a middle god has actually appeared on the other side. No one knows how strong this middle god is, so I'm always uncertain. Middle god, Ouyang Yen raised the corner of her mouth and said with a smile, I heard that the southern divine realm used to have such a ranking system. The gods were divided into 3 ranks, lower god, middle god, and higher god. Later, this system was abandoned and redivided into 3 ranks, hierarch, divine king, and god emperor. They are essentially the same. If nothing goes wrong, that middle god should be around the level of divine king. Of course, it's not impossible. After all, after the heavenly punishment, order was re-established. Perhaps the new gods are far stronger than the old gods. Lin Muyu frowned and said, what are we going to use to fight against the evil devil god in the future? We'll deal with it when it comes. What are you worried about? Besides, the laws are mutually reinforcing. Since there are devil gods, then there will definitely be righteous gods in the future. Righteous gods? Yes, they're more or less the gods who defend the righteous path. Lin Muyu suddenly thought of the demon emperor's words, the righteousness of heaven and earth is vast and everlasting. Everyone with an obsession had a breath of righteousness, but would this breath of righteousness really be recognized by the heavens and ascend to become a god? At least until now, Lin Muyu hadn't felt the slightest summon from the divine oracle, let alone the recovery of her strength. Ouyang Yen blinked her eyes, as if she had guessed what Lin Muyu was thinking. She hugged one of his arms and said with a smile, it's all right. This devil god Philae only ascended to become a god when his savagery reached the pinnacle. As for us, once the obsession in our hearts reaches the pinnacle, we will definitely regain our divine power, just like you and me right now, right now? Lin Muyu looked at her. That's right. Ouyang Yen gently twisted her slender waist and rubbed her full chest against Lin Muyu's arm. She said, our current posture is originally not tolerated by the world, but now it seems so natural. Why? It's because I, Ouyang Yen, respect and love you. I've long placed you in an extremely important position at the bottom of my heart. Is that so? Isn't it because of the darkness of the night? Lin Muyu smiled and pulled back her arm. Don't be like this in the future. If Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi see this, I'll have to kneel on the washboard. Humph, Your Highness you really are a coward. Can I not be a coward? As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Muyu's entire body suddenly trembled. Not good. What's wrong? A powerful aura has intruded into our fleet's range from the sky. It's a dragon rider. The celestial pole continent's dragon riders have come. Should we head over now? No need. Lin Muyu waved her hand. Situ-san has already brought the Xingtian army over. Situ-san was also a dragon rider, and together with the power of the Xingtian army's undying Phoenix Knights, a trifling celestial pole continent's dragon rider wasn't a problem at all. Sure enough, roughly 10 minutes later, a row of Xingtian army soldiers appeared in the sky, covered in raging flames. Situ-san spurred on an enormous dragon and brought several dragon riders from the Longdan army camp down from the sky. At the same time, they tossed the corpse of an enormous dragon onto the deck. Pung! Snow flew everywhere. Situ-san flipped his body over and landed on the deck. He respectfully said, "Sir, this dragon rider tried to spy on our military intelligence, so we've already killed him on the spot." Lin Muyu shot at a glance. This was a blue dragon. Its abdomen had been pierced, and there was a sword wound on its neck as well. This was Situ-sen's masterpiece. Meanwhile, the dragon rider was a warrior in his early 20s. He was extremely young, and his chest had been pierced through by the Xingtian army's flame spears, moreover more than 10 flame spears. One could imagine just how bitter the battle was back then. "Are you sure there aren't any other dragon riders?" Lin Muyu asked. "Yes, we're sure there aren't any. Our alert radius is 100 miles. He entered our range a long time ago, but he still came to die without even knowing it." "Very good. Continue to maintain vigilance." Lin Muyu glanced at the dragon rider's corpse and said, "Push it to the bottom of the sea to feed the fishes." "Yes." Ouyang Yen pursed her red lips and didn't say anything. She just watched a group of armored warriors push the corpses of the dragon riders and dragons off the ship. Boom! Water splashed, and instantly, a group of nightmare people appeared and began fighting over the corpses. Unlike Gong Gong's navy, nightmare people were more like wild beasts. They could eat anything they wanted, and they were unrestrained. Qianfeng didn't even bother to restrain them. As long as they didn't hurt his own people, it would be fine. Only by maintaining their nature could they maintain their fighting power. Ouyang Yen knew that Lin Muyu was known as the most famous general of the empire, and she was also a benevolent general. Logically speaking, she should bury the enemy's corpses as a sign of respect. However, she couldn't do that in the sea. She could only throw the corpses away, or else they would be a burden. This kind of behavior didn't meet the standard of a benevolent general, but it was very much in line with the style of an excellent commander-in-chief. The east gradually turned bright, and the dawn came. However, this was only the first day. Lin Muyu felt a bit tired, yawned, and said to Situ-san, "From now on, you and Wei Chou will be in charge of today's patrol. I'm going to take a nap." "Yes, Lord. Have a good rest." Situ-san carried his long sword and said, "Everyone, continue the patrol with me." "Yes, Deputy Commander." Although Lin Muyu was the commander-in-chief, Situ-san, Fengshi, Situ-shui, and a few other deputy commanders truly controlled most of the military power in the Longdan army camp. Therefore, the soldiers respected the deputy commanders as much as they respected Lin Muyu, the commander-in-chief. The flagship warship rose and fell with the waves, swaying left and right, causing many people to vomit. Wah! Sounds could be heard in the cabin from time to time. It was really hard for them. Lin Muyu's room was next to Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's. When she opened the door, there was a warm quilt and a warm stove. After taking off her cold armor, she crawled into the quilt and fell asleep in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1134. After an unknown period of time, Lin Muyu slowly woke up. She felt something churning in her stomach, and she felt like vomiting. She immediately turned over and got up, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She was actually seasick. Looking outside, it seemed that the sky was gloomy, and night was about to fall. She got up, opened the cabin door, and saw 2 imperial guards standing respectfully outside. One of them said to Tang Xiaoxi in Qin Yin's cabin, "Your Highness Yin, dinner is ready. 3 portions. Is the marshal awake?" The imperial guard glanced at Lin Muyu and said, "He's awake, and he's looking at me." Qin Yin burst into laughter and flew out of the cabin. She looked at Lin Muyu with her hand on the wooden plank and said with a smile, "Brother Yu, will you accompany me and Xiaoxi for dinner?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "I'll wash up first." "Okay." She took out a toothbrush and toothpaste from her space bag, and took some fresh water from a cup. Then, she went to the deck and walked to the edge of the ship to brush her teeth. "Greetings, Marshal." A group of officers and soldiers saluted her. Lin Muyu raised her hand and ordered them not to stand on ceremony. Then, she continued to brush her teeth. After brushing her teeth, she picked up the snow on the side of the ship and rubbed it on her face. The snow quickly melted and served as the friction to wash her face. It also made her feel refreshed instantly. It was so cold. Wei Chou walked forward and said respectfully, "Madam, today's voyage was very smooth. We traveled nearly 700 miles during the day, much faster than we expected." 700 miles? Lin Muyu could not help but smile. "In that case, we might reach Changyuan Island in 4 days." "Yes. Go and rest. I'll be in charge of patrolling defense at night." "Yes, my lord." Lin Muyu turned around and entered the cabin. There were a total of 4 to 5 rooms at the back of the ship, and all of them were occupied by the upper echelons of the empire. The aroma of the dishes attracted Chu Yao and Si Kong Yao. As a result, the 5 of them had a meal together, and it was considered a special treatment. There was also fresh and tender delicacies as well as mellow and fragrant soups. This was considered a privilege of the empress. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu and Chu Yao also followed along to enjoy the blissful life. The Qin Empire didn't lack money, so they didn't have to go to the deck to eat cold bread like soldiers. "How's the military situation?" Qin Yin asked as she scooped soup for Lin Muyu. "Everything went well." Lin Muyu said, "Last night, we killed a dragon rider who tried to spy on the military situation, and we also received a letter from Qianfeng and Su Jiantao. They have already arrived at Greenstone Island and Jiufeng Island to serve as outposts for the 3 armies." Si Kongyao smiled and asked, "I still don't quite understand Brother Yu's intention in sending these 2 fleets ahead of time." Outposts can provide information, and they can also serve as bait. The more important thing is the bait, right? Qin Yin asked with a smile. "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "I really want to fight Chen Yu at sea, and with Chen Yu's intelligence, I can naturally see through it. He won't be happy to fight me at sea, so I have to throw out a huge bait to force him to fight me at sea." "Is Chen Yu really that powerful?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "His intelligence isn't below yours or mine," Lin Muyu said concisely. "If that's the case." Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and said, "If that's the case, our chances of winning will become smaller again." "No, we will definitely win." Lin Muyu's eyes were full of deep meaning. "Why?" the 4 girls asked together. "It's very simple." Lin Muyu's handsome face brimmed with confidence as she said, "There is one thing that the celestial pole continent will never be able to match up to us, and that is unity. Xiao Yin, you are the empress, but you didn't order the execution of a national traitor like Qin Yi after capturing him. This kind of bearing and grace will allow us to win the hearts of the people. Think about it, even generals like Zhen Yifan and Xiang Yu, who once had rebellious thoughts, were placed in important positions by us. Who wouldn't be loyal to us?" As she spoke, Lin Muyu stirred the vegetable leaves in the soup with her chopsticks and said, "Although we only have half the number of people in the celestial pole continent, we are united. However, Chen Yu is different. Chen Yu is alone, and people like Yangsheng, Philae, Dora, and Baiming Yuan won't be of one mind with Chen Yu, so Qin can only use half of his intelligence. This way, Great Qin will definitely win. Qin Yin smiled sweetly, gratified. Then I can rest assured. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. Brainwashing expert Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu laughed. He loved and hated these two girls at the same time. How annoying. He picked up the bowl and finished the soup in one gulp. He then stood up and said, "All right, it's getting dark. I'll be in charge of patrolling the fleet tonight. You guys sleep well, I'm going to carry out my military duties." A Grand Marshal has to personally patrol the fleet? Chu Yao's mouth fell open. I have no choice. This is a special time, so I can't be careless. He left the girls with his back as he walked out of the cabin with his sword hilt. Night fell, and the deck became even colder. In the sky, a giant dragon was soaring against the wind, and riding on its back was a beautiful girl. It was Situ Shui. It had been so many years, but Situ Shui hadn't aged at all. In fact, she looked even younger than before. "My lord, can I accompany you on patrol tonight?" Situ Shui asked with a smile. "It would be my honor." Lin Muyu stood at the bow of the ship and said. "Don't you want to take a look in the sky, my lord?" Situ Shui asked with a smile. "Up in the sky?" "That's fine." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment before she suddenly opened her palm and pointed outside the ship's railing. "Acatosaurus, come out. It's your turn. Don't sleep in every day." Whoa, the wall of the alternate dimension was broken, and the majestic Acatosaurus twisted its body and flew out of the hexagram. Clouds appeared around its body, and it called out to Lin Muyu several times respectfully as a greeting. Lin Muyu jumped onto the dragon's back and grabbed the Acatosaurus's red mane. "Let's go. Follow me to patrol the fleet." Acatosaurus understood. It quickly twisted its body and soared into the sky with Lin Muyu. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp on the deck were dumbfounded. A real dragon. It was much stronger than the dragon mounts of Situ Sen and Situ Shui. In the sky, the clouds were dense, and Lin Muyu quickly flew into the clouds. Beside her, other than Situ Shui, there were a few more dragon knights and hundreds of Xingtian heavenly army guards. "Ah Shui, how many dragon knights do we have?" Lin Muyu asked. Situ Shui blinked and chuckled. "My lord, we originally had 41 dragons. Later, Miss Si Kongyao smuggled a few dozen from the celestial pole continent. Now, the Longdan army camp has a total of 114 dragons, which is equivalent to 114 dragon knights. Although we can't compare to the celestial pole continent in terms of numbers, we have formed a powerful force of our own." "Very good," Lin Muyu urged Acatosaurus to fly forward. Soon, they saw rows of battleships moving in a triangular formation on the surface of the sea. It was the Imperial Army fleet controlled by Feng Jixing. From afar, they saw a small table on the deck of the flagship of this fleet. Feng Jixing was sitting upright and still, making tea. It was rare for him to be in such a mood. On the side, Zhang Wei, Guan Xing, and the others were drinking tea with him. They didn't look like they were facing a great enemy. However, it seemed that this was the style of the Imperial Army, elegant and not flustered. Once the enemy appeared, they would fight more valiantly than anyone else. Lin Muyu continued to fly forward. She went deep into the clouds. She saw bolts of lightning raging in the purple clouds above. "My lord, we can't fly up anymore. It's dangerous," Situ Shui said hurriedly. "The lightning there is extremely destructive. Be careful. Don't follow us," Lin Muyu said in a deep voice. "I want to see what's in these clouds." Situ Shui was speechless. Swoosh! Acatosaurus turned into a blood-red light and flew into the clouds with Lin Muyu. The moment they entered the clouds, lightning swept over, just like the lightning that imprisoned the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor in the Ba Huang domain. Clang! The Xian Yuan sword was unsheathed. Lin Muyu's sword skills were swift and fierce. She slashed the lightning tentacles several times in a row. However, Acatosaurus didn't seem to be afraid of the lightning at all. It raised its head and let out a deafening dragon roar. It twisted its body and flew toward the place where the purple clouds were denser. Lin Muyu could faintly feel that there seemed to be a very strange power in that place. The electric net in front of them became denser and denser. So much so that Lin Muyu had to constantly slash at it to advance. Looking through the layers of electric net, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly trembled. There seemed to be a purple-black energy core, protected by layers of electric net. It emitted a very dense demonic aura, like a demonic heart. Demonic heart? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and urged Acatosaurus to rush over. However, the piercingly cold electrical net came charging at him. With a loud boom, the powerful energy surged and sent him flying back along with his dragon. No, the energy field of the central domain was too strong. It was not something that Lin Muyu could touch with her current abilities. Ow ow! Acatosaurus let out a miserable groan and roared as if it was facing a great enemy. Is this the power of the demonic realm in the mortal world? Lin Muyu thought to herself. She sheathed her sword and no longer tried to hit a stone with an egg. She grabbed Acatosaurus's mane and was about to leave. But at this moment, there was a sudden, chi-la sound. A faint golden rune appeared near the energy field of the demonic heart. Then, faint runes appeared. It was a kind of power with righteousness. Although it was very small, it made Lin Muyu feel a strong affinity. Righteousness of heaven and earth, vast and everlasting. The demon emperor had once said that. Although the power of this righteousness was very small, it had already been born at the side of the demonic heart. Since ancient times, righteousness and evil had mutually restrained each other. Where there was a demonic path, there must be a righteous path. This made Lin Muyu a little excited. The power of righteousness seemed to have begun to appear in this plane. This was good news. At this moment, the two forces collided again. Boom! There was an explosion, and the small golden crystal instantly disappeared. It was directly extinguished by the demonic energy. The biting cold air swept Lin Muyu and Acatosaurus out of the clouds. Lord, are you all right? Situ Shui flew over with her people. I'm fine. Lin Muyu waved her hand. She looked up at the thunderous clouds in the sky and said, I'm fine. He was a little disappointed. In the end, righteousness still couldn't defeat evil. Currently, the demonic energy in the shattered cauldron realm was far stronger than righteousness. Otherwise, a demon god like Philae wouldn't have been born. The spirit pulse technique spread out. Within a radius of 100 miles, there were dozens of such demonic hearts. They covered the sky of the continent and wreaked havoc everywhere. Chapter 1135. 100 miles south of Shiping City, Nanhu County. Cries and screams could be heard throughout the county. In the barbican of the county capital, a group of old and young were kneeling on the ground. Their families had already been tied up with ropes and forcibly recruited as recruits of the Shang nation. The allowance given to their families was only a mere 50 copper coins. Are they done? A general holding a saber grabbed the reins of his horse. His eyes were filled with anger as he said, "Kill anyone who dares to obstruct the troops from leaving the city. This is a critical time. Don't hesitate." But Lord Jin Chong, these people are the citizens of the kingdom. A young 10-man squad leader was shocked. Jin Chong was the chilly arch of the 3rd Legion and one of the main people in charge of recruiting new soldiers. He slowly lowered his saber and said, "Are you questioning my orders?" "I dare not." The 10-man squad leader hurriedly knelt and apologized, "Please don't be angry, Lord, in that case, do as you say. These people are courting death by obstructing the army from leaving the city. Yes, allow me to threaten them." No need, I'll do it myself. Jin Chong urged his horse forward. The king's fighting flame surged on his arm. With a sudden shout, his saber flashed and an old man's head was sent flying with the wind. Blood splattered everywhere. An old man who had come to send his son to join the army had become a dead soul. Those who interfere with military affairs will be killed without mercy. The battle is imminent. Clear the path for me. Jin Chong's face was filled with ruthlessness. Yes, kill. A group of soldiers from the kingdom of Shang mounted their horses and waved their sabers as they started a massacre in the Barbican. In the blink of an eye, the sky was filled with cries and blood. Nearly 100 citizens had become corpses. Thunder rumbled in the sky. An extremely evil power hidden in the dark clouds rolled over and turned into strands of demonic aura that descended from the sky. It hummed and evaporated, devouring the blood on the ground. At the same time, strands of demonic aura circled around Jin Chong. His brow began to light up. The decaying godhead was awakened. Then, the demonic aura turned into a demonic body and seeped into his body. Jin Chong's eyes were filled with violence and excitement. Despite the intense pain his body was in, he was still able to laugh out loud. He knelt on one knee and looked up at the sky. Thank you, God, for bestowing upon me the demonic body. In the sky, the gigantic demonic shadow was ever changing, sometimes in the shape of a human, sometimes in the shape of a giant bell, and sometimes in the shape of a surging river. The extreme and evil demonic breath was so oppressive that it almost suffocated the crowd. That inhuman voice once again reverberated in the air, Jin Chong, killing is second nature to you and you have attained the diabolism. Today, I bestow upon you a Dharmakaya and confer upon you the title of first-tier lower deity. I hope that you will serve the diabolism well in the future. Yes, thank you, exalted goddess. Jin Chong was still kneeling on the ground. He was a little disappointed. After all, Philae was a mid-god, while the power he obtained was only that of a low god. Moreover, Philae was a titled god, while he was an untitled god. Their statuses couldn't be compared at all. However, Jin Chong was ecstatic at the moment. He was the second god on the continent. Anyone would be wary of him. Beside him, all the soldiers became even more reverent. They smiled and said, "Congratulations, Lord Demon God Jin Chong. It's all for ourselves. Don't stand on ceremony." Jin Chong stood up and said, "Brothers, follow me to see Marshal Chen Yu. We can always ask for a deputy commander. If I can become the deputy commander, all of you will be promoted by 3 ranks. Yes, thank you, Lord." Tianji City. The Demon Realm Oracle had just disappeared when Yangshang could no longer sit still. Damn it, who is Jin Chong? Yangshang punched the armrest of his seat. Beside him, the Northern Heaven Realm's deputy commander Wu Chang said respectfully, "He's a celestial warrior. He used to be a divine king. Now, he has attained the diabolism and become a demon god." Another one. Yangshang's eyes flickered with fierceness. He said, "What does this damned heavens mean? My subordinates have all attained the diabolism, but I'm still immortal. My cultivation has stagnated." "Humph," Wu Chang smiled. "Marshal, why are you so angry? Attaining the diabolism is the will of the heavens. Moreover, Marshal's fate is determined by the heavens. There will definitely be a stronger Dharmakaya waiting for you. Deputy Commander also knows about the Dharmakaya?" "Of course. Without a Dharmakaya, it's impossible to become a god just by relying on the godhead." "Humph, Dharmakaya," Yangshang took a deep breath and said, "Is there any news from the Northern Heaven Realm?" "No, Lord Divine King Dongming did not receive any oracle. If I'm not mistaken, he should have been punished by the heavens and lost his divine power. Otherwise, he would have contacted us long ago. It's fine. Xianxia clenched his fist and said, "When Divine King Dongming regains his divine power, I will have already unified the celestial pole continent and the shattered cauldron realm. At that time, I will offer Lin Muyu's and Qin Yin's heads as a gift to Lord Divine King." Huh, Marshal is right. Wu Chang placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and raised his eyebrows. He said, "Marshal, I think we should immediately send out an imperial edict to appoint Jin Chong as the commander of the battalion and give him the title of captaincy. That way, Jin Chong will be able to work for Marshal with peace of mind. That's for the best." A bright light flashed in Yangshang's eyes. "There are more and more demon gods. I'm afraid I won't be able to continue being a marshal if there are more. Oh right, is there any news from Chen Yu? Chen Yu has been well versed in the art of war since he was young. Marshal, don't worry. There won't be any mistakes in handing over the million-strong army to Chen Yu. All right." Yangshang's gaze was cold as he said, "From tomorrow onwards, I will be entering seclusion to study the heavenly Tao. No one is to disturb me unless it's an important military matter. Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand." The East Sea was a magnificent sight. The snow had stopped once again. After the winds blew, the waves surged. The warships were bobbing up and down along with the waves. It was worrisome. The soldiers on the deck all crouched down, afraid that they would be struck into the water by a rapidly spinning wave. In such an environment, there was no chance of survival if they were to fall into the water. The waves were too turbulent for humans to handle. Another demon god has appeared. Lin Muyu stood on the deck of the flagship's bow. She stood upright like a mountain. No matter how the warship bobbed up and down, she remained motionless. Cultivators were all training, and stabilizing their footing was just a basic skill. Experts like Lin Muyu, Wei Chou, and Situ Sun had long reached the point of perfection. They would definitely not be as pathetic as ordinary soldiers. Jin Chong, another unknown person. Wei Chou frowned and said, "If I'm not wrong, he should be a god of the northern heaven realm. What's going on with the heavens? Why do they keep sending down oracles to appoint demon gods? The righteous path is declining, and the demonic path is flourishing. This is expected." Lin Muyu pointed to the clouds and said, "The sky is filled with demonic energy. After the reconstruction of order, the laws are also filled with chaotic energy. The power of the demon world now far exceeds the power of the righteous path. Moreover, killing to become a god is not difficult at all. The appearance of the demon god is also expected. Will the demon world unify our three realms?" Situ Shue asked worriedly. "I don't think so." Lin Muyu was also not sure. She said, "At least I think so. The heavenly Tao will not allow the demon world to rampage endlessly like this. Those evil people can prove their Tao, so good people can also prove their Tao. It's just that the time is not right." Wei Chou frowned and said, "The power of the demon gods is far greater than ours. Once the war starts, these two demon gods are bound to kill our compatriots. I'm afraid, the moment the heavens open their eyes, all of us who have the qualifications to prove our Tao and become gods will be killed. No, definitely not. Gods aren't invincible." Lin Muyu held the hilt of the Xianyuan sword and said, "Pass down the order. Speed up and reach Changyuan Island as soon as possible." "Milord, you want to?" Situ Shue blinked her eyes. "Finish the war quickly. We can't let the people of the celestial pole continent continue to get the demon bodies." Wei Chou, Situ Sun, Fengxi, Ouyang Yen, and the others were silent. Anyone could see that Lin Muyu's confidence was shaken. Yes, in this situation, it was normal for her to be shaken. After all, Lin Muyu was a mortal, not a god. Greenstone Island, an island full of green, but the green was not the forest, but the color of the stones on the island. Although it was covered by snow, there were still many green stones that rendered the island full of vitality. In the middle of the island, tents had been set up, and the seaside was full of warships. In the camp, the Longdan army camp and Great Qin's purple Yinhua flag fluttered. In the central tent, Su Jiantao was ordering a group of military staff officers to make a sand table of the area around Greenstone Island. In the vicinity of 5 kilometers, there were other islands of different sizes besides Greenstone Island. The big ones were as big as Zetian Palace, and the small ones could be submerged by the waves at any time. "Milord, here and here are all underwater islands, which are the legendary submerged reefs. Our fleet must not pass through here, or it will be destroyed." "Okay, I got it. Continue to send small ships to survey. We must completely grasp the surrounding terrain." "Yes." The staff officer turned and left. Another person hurriedly walked in. It was a captaincy of the Longdan army camp. He said hurriedly, "Commander, the enemy has appeared." "Oh? Speak." "We found a medium-sized warship 5 kilometers away. It appeared with the flag of the Kingdom of Shang. It should be the warship responsible for scouting in the celestial pole continent. Do we need to send large ships to destroy it with magic crystal cannons?" "There's no need." Su Jiantao waved his hand lightly and said, "There's no need to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Just send 2 ships out. Use the agility of the ships to avoid the enemy's firepower. Use the magic crystal crossbows to shoot the sides of the ships. After sinking the enemy, don't leave any survivors. Kill all the enemies in the sea. We don't want any captives. No. We're running low on rations. We can only last for 10 days at most. We don't have any food to feed the captives. Go and execute it. Continue to be on high alert." "Yes, I understand." Chapter 1136. 3 days later, the fleet led by Lin Muyu arrived at Changyuan Island. This crescent-shaped island was simply a uniquely endowed harbor. The small boats were in front, and after scouting out the situation on the reefs, the warships docked one after another. Most of the ships anchored in the shallow waters and clustered around this safe haven of Changyuan Island. An army of 300,000 was no small number. In the blink of an eye, Changyuan Island was almost completely covered. Under Lin Muyu's orders, the soldiers found a mountain of potato chips in the cave. The spiritual flame division of the various battalions began to cook in the afternoon so that the soldiers could eat a good meal and recover their strength. By nightfall, over 100 cargo ships were transporting food from Changyuan Island to the garrisons of Greenstone Island and Eternal Wind Island. Unknowingly, the 3 great armies had already formed a triangular formation that was directly facing the celestial pole continent. The next morning, 2 more dragon riders appeared in the sky, but under the pursuit of Lin Muyu and the Xingtian army, not a single one was able to escape. They were all buried in the sea. When it was close to noon, a fishing boat from the celestial pole continent entered Changyuan Island's waters and was similarly seized. For 3 days in a row, the number of dragon riders that had died under the ambush of Changyuan Island had already reached 9. Lin Muyu began to feel uneasy, and even Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, Xiang Yu, and the others were becoming a bit impatient. The repeated probing of the enemy had already made them lose their patience. During the afternoon military conference, every commander was given a cup of coffee, and it was personally brewed by Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. It was quite good to use as a refresher. Feng Jixing blew at the foam on the coffee and took a small sip. He put down the coffee and said, "What exactly is Chen Yu thinking? He sends dragon riders to their deaths time and time again. Could he have sensed something? Perhaps." Lin Muyu's gaze rested on the western coast on the map. "According to the military intelligence we've obtained, the ports of Xishan province seem to have all been sealed. Chen Yu has strictly forbidden any warships from heading out to fight. It seems like his sense of smell isn't bad." Xiang Yu frowned and said, "Then we can't keep waiting like this. We're wasting a large amount of rations and charcoal here. It's definitely not a long-term solution. Yeah. Tang Jin frowned and said, Lin General, we should strike first and gain the initiative. We can't strike later and be restrained by others. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Order Su Jiantao and Qianfeng to send a small fleet of fast ships to cause trouble. Bombard Chen Yu's port from afar and test his reaction. What if he doesn't respond? What should we do? Feng Jixing asked. Zhang Wei grinned. Then let's go ashore and kill them all. No, we can't go ashore. That'll be exactly what Chen Yu wants. Lin Muyu shook her head. No matter what the situation is, we can't go ashore before we've dealt a heavy blow to Chen Yu's main force. This is my highest military order. Whoever dares to disobey it will be beheaded. Zhang Wei grinned, while Lin Sun, Luo Yu, and the other Imperial Army generals held back their laughter. Old Zhang was honest and straightforward, but she was also the one the marshal rebuked the most. Celestial Pole Continent, Shiping Prefecture. It was a major conference that was held once every 3 days. The huge military conference table was filled with people. Almost all the main generals of the million-strong army were present. Even the 2 great demonic gods, Philae and Jin Chong, were present. Chen Yu was wearing the marshal's cape, looking like a young man who had achieved success. He looked at the crowd indifferently but remained silent, not saying a word. Marshal. A commander stood up and cupped his hands. Many of the Dragon Rider scouts we've sent out have not returned, and many of the light boat scouts have also been attacked. The Qin army's fleet is less than 200 miles away from us. As long as Marshal gives the order, our million-strong army will be able to overturn the mountains and overturn the seas, destroying Lin Muyu's army in one fell swoop, consigning him to eternal damnation. That's right, Marshal. What are we waiting for? Another commander echoed loudly. Chen Yu didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at Philae and Jin Chong and asked, what do the 2 great demonic gods think? Jin Chong was only a commander of a battalion, so he didn't have the right to be present. However, his status was special. He stood up with a smile and said, they're just a bunch of mortals. What's so hard about defeating them? Lord Philae, I believe that's what you're thinking, right? Philae smiled faintly. According to the military intelligence we have, the Qin army's warships are limited, and the number of troops they can carry is also limited. In addition, they're on a long journey. They're really looking for death. As long as we attack with all our strength, they're bound to be routed and perish in this vast sea. But I don't think so. Chen Yu smiled. Philae frowned and said impatiently, what do you mean, Marshal? My lords, please listen to my explanation. Chen Yu put his hand on the table and said, in the past few days, we've sent a total of 51 dragon riders out to sea to patrol. So far, we've found that the Qin fleet has appeared on Greenstone Island and Eternal Wind Island. However, the 9 dragon riders sent to patrol Changyuan Island have all died. They didn't even bring back any news. Can't you smell it? What smell? Philae asked. It's very simple. There's something wrong with Changyuan Island. Chen Yu smiled faintly. The more they don't want us to know about the situation on Changyuan Island, the more it shows that there's something fishy going on there. If we rashly send troops, we'll really fall into Lin Muyu's trap. This man has always been scheming. His seemingly calm appearance often hides infinite murderous intent. At least, this is what I know about him. Is that so? Philae sneered. Then what's Marshal Chen Yu's plan to deal with the enemy? Defend. Chen Yu said, the 2 sides are far apart, and it will be very time-consuming and laborious to transport supplies. As long as we defend, the Qin army will collapse without attacking. Only by forcing them to land can the Northern Heaven Realm's God Race army attack the battle formation and show their power. What do you think, my lords. So Marshall's brilliant plan is just to be a coward. Philae suddenly laughed. Many generals who were not convinced by Chen Yu also laughed. The kingdom of Shang was a reorganized empire. Naturally, most of the generals of the Blackstone Empire and the Tianji Empire would not be convinced by Chen Yu. They naturally fell to Philae's side and followed Philae's lead. In any case, they would not let Chen Yu have an easy time. Chen Yu's face turned white and red. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said, Emperor Shang conferred me the title of Marshal. I will put the interests of the empire first in everything I do. My lords have received the imperial edict of Emperor Shang to assist me. I hope that we can let go of the past and work together to defeat the strong enemy. So, Marshal is going to be a coward to the end? Philae's eyes were full of ridicule. I'm not a coward, I'm just defending. Whatever. Philae stood up, brushed the dust off his sleeves and said, since Marshal is determined to defend, I will go hunting in the forest south of the city. I hope that the day the Qin army comes ashore, Marshal will not be scared out of his wits and still defend. You. Farewell. Philae directly left the conference hall. Jin Chong also stood up, cupped his hands and smiled, farewell. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the generals in the conference hall had left, leaving only a dozen or so people sitting there in silence. Sigh, Chen Yu slumped on the marshal's seat. His face was full of exhaustion. He said, mobilize all the magic crystal cannons in the empire. Move them all into Shiping City. Prepare for war. Marshal, most of the magic crystal cannons are on the warships. Dismantle them. Yes, another 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. On November 17, 7743 of the Empire calendar, Su Jiantao personally led 20 warships to bombard Shiping Port and burned more than 40 warships of the Kingdom of Shang. On November 18, 7743 of the Empire calendar, Qianfeng led his troops to bombard Songdong Port and sank more than 70 warships and merchant ships. But what was strange was that Chen Yu never made any response, as if he had fallen asleep. This made Lin Muyu sleepless all night, and his eyes almost turned red. No matter how the Qin Empire provoked him, the keen Chen Yu did not seem to fall for it at all. On the morning of the 19th, Lin Muyu just drank a bowl of soup and immediately went to the marshal's tent to deal with military affairs. The troops of the 3 major islands added up to a total of 450,000. Almost all the affairs, big and small, had to go through the hands of the marshal. There was a wisp of warmth in the stove. Lin Muyu knelt on the meadow and flipped through the register like a towering mountain. Beside her, Wei Chou opened the book one by one and read it unhurriedly. According to the accurate news, nearly 300,000 troops of Shiping Prefecture have entered Shiping Port. These 300,000 troops are under the command of Philae. It seems that the contradiction between Philae and Chen Yu has deepened again. 3 days ago, 100,000 tons of coal entered Shiping Prefecture. 2 days ago, Laohan City transported 200,000 sets of armor into Shiping City. Yesterday morning, Philae married 3 concubines. It is said that they are the 3 daughters of Wang Fu, a gentleman of Shiping City. Philae is very fond of these 3 women. Late last night, Philae and Jin Chong brought people to make trouble in Shiping Prefecture again. They are very dissatisfied with Chen Yu. It is reported that Chen Yu seems to intend to reduce the military power held by Philae. The sewer in the eastern district of Shiping City is blocked and stinks. At the side, Si Kong Yao giggled. Wei Chou, why do you have to report everything to Brother Yu? If this is the case, how can he manage so many things? Wei Chou was a little embarrassed. These are all information from the people we have planted in the celestial pole continent. They don't know what is useful and what is not, so they can only report everything. Lin Muyu, who was reviewing military affairs, suddenly had a thought. She raised her head and said, Wei Chou, read the last one again. Oh. Philae and Jin Chong brought people to make trouble in Shiping Prefecture again. They are very dissatisfied with Chen Yu. No, the previous one. Yesterday morning, Filei married 3 concubines. It is said that they are the 3 daughters of Wang Fu, a gentleman of Shiping City. Filei is very fond of these 3 women. Yes, that's the one. Lin Muyu frowned and said, was there a piece of military intelligence given to me yesterday where Chen Yu issued a military order, strictly forbidding all generals from bringing their families along? Yes, there was such a piece. Lin Muyu's heart suddenly lit up, and she said, I've finally grasped this rare opportunity. Milord, what do you mean? Wei Chou was confused. Lin Muyu said, Yao, secretly order the people you left in Shiping City to change into the military uniforms of the Kingdom of Shang and disguise themselves as Chen Yu subordinates. While Filei is away, go to Filei's residence and capture his 3 concubines under the pretext that the marshal's bodyguards are enforcing the law. Take the 3 concubines out of Xishan province and hide them, intensifying the conflict between Filei and Chen Yu. In addition, spread rumors among Chen Yu's army that Chen Yu has already written to Emperor Shang, asking Emperor Shang to strip Filei of his military authority. Si Kong Yao gladly said, Yao obeys. Wei Chou also came to a sudden realization. He laughed loudly and said, this sowing discord is really vicious. Milord, this subordinate is very impressed. Chapter 1137. Imperial Calendar, Year 7743, November 26, Bang. In the conference hall of Shiping Prefecture, the sturdy pear-wood door was instantly pulverized. A group of counselors and strategists who were busy at work jumped in fright and retreated one after another. Amidst the dust, they saw Filei leading a group of generals in with a dark expression. Where is Chen Yu? Filei's fists were lowered. Demonic flames swirled around him, and a faint domain enveloped the area. It was so oppressive that everyone almost couldn't breathe. At one end of the conference hall table, Chen Yu slowly raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot from staying up all night. He asked with a puzzled expression, Deputy Marshal Filei, what are you doing? Filei sneered, what am I doing? You sent people to capture 3 of my wives, and you're asking me what I'm doing? Is that so? What do you think? Filei slapped an arrest warrant on the table and said, isn't this the official document issued by your advisory group? Well done, Chen Yu. You've actually carried out your military duties in front of me. Wait a minute. Chen Yu frowned and said, I think there must be some misunderstanding. Lord Filei is the deputy marshal and has a special status. I will definitely not use military law to punish you. There must be some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? If that was a misunderstanding, then what is this? Filei waved his hand, and immediately, 2 guards brought in a bloodied man who was beaten up and said, the marshal should know this man. He is a messenger from your residence. As for the things he sent, the marshal should know even more. Filei gently opened his palm, and instantly, a piece of paper appeared in front of Chen Yu. It was written in his handwriting, and the content of the paper was to report to Yangshang that Filei had interfered with military affairs. He requested for Filei to be stripped of all his duties and only be given the status of an ordinary soldier. He wanted him to start from the point of merit and use this method to establish military might. This is impossible, this is impossible. Chen Yu's face turned pale. He shook his head and murmured, I've never written such a thing, I've never written it. Could it be that the marshal can't even recognize his own handwriting? Filei sneered, if you don't even dare to admit what you've done, how can you still have the face to be the marshal of our great kingdom of Shang? I said I didn't write it, so I didn't write it. Chen Yu gritted his teeth. Filei, there must be someone trying to drive a wedge between us. It must be like this. You must not believe this kind of false testimony. Give me some time, and I will prove that this is all a setup. Is that so? Filei's palm that was pressing on the evidence suddenly exerted force. Immediately, a purple demonic flame flew up and instantly shattered the long table in the hall, destroying it along with the evidence. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled. I don't need any proof or setup. Chen Yu, remember this, no one can sow discord between us. If I want to destroy you, then I will destroy you. It won't be because of anyone else, but because I want to destroy you. Alright, I won't pursue this matter with you. Just don't do it again. Next time, it won't be so easy to deal with. Just be a good marshal and be careful. With that, Philae left with a group of generals. Chen Yu stood blankly on the spot, looking at the map that was shattered on the ground. He was so aggrieved that his whole body began to tremble. Marshal, this. One of the staff officers said cautiously, please don't lower yourself to the level of this boorish man. He can't see what you see. There is only power and power in his heart. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Tears welled up in Chen Yu's eyes as he clenched his fists and said, if it wasn't for the sake of the people of the Tianzhu Empire not being trampled on, why would I have to fight this battle? If it wasn't for the glory of my ancestors, why would I have to suffer such grievances? Immediately send someone to investigate the cause of this matter. Find out who kidnapped Felix's wife and concubines. Also, find a way to find out who wrote that secret memorial and who sent it out. The seal on it is mine, so who stamped it? I'm afraid there's a ghost in our staff group. I don't care who it is, find out for me. Yes. On the 28th of November, the news had already reached Changyuan Island. In the afternoon, all the generals gathered in the marshal's tent. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin prepared afternoon black tea for the generals. No one knew where the black tea came from, but the generals were so grateful that they almost burst into tears. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were noble, but they served tea like maids. Once the war broke out, they would be fierce generals. This was not something that ordinary people could compare with. Everyone was envious of Lin Muyu. She had 2 good wives, and everyone was envious. Of course, no one else could share Lin Muyu's pain. Damn it, he blew a few bubbles on the black tea and frowned. He's not completely furious after being humiliated like this. This Philae's endurance is really good. If it were me, I'm afraid I would have exploded. Feng Jixing said calmly, I'm afraid you didn't use enough medicine to make Philae shed all pretense of cordiality with Chen Yu. Why not? There are some things that you don't understand, you. Feng Jixing touched his nose and said, for women, Her Highness Yin and Princess Xi are everything to you, you. They're worth risking your life to protect, but it's different for Philae. Although Philae likes those 3 concubines very much, they're just like clothes. Once they're gone, they can be replaced or found again. Anyway, Philae doesn't really love them. So, your provocation didn't completely hit Philae's weak point. However, it has already made the relationship between Philae and Chen Yu worse. All the generals smiled. Only Feng Jixing had the guts to expose the relationship between Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. No one else dared to say it out loud. Lin Muyu nodded. Maybe you're right. Does Brother Feng have a bigger and stronger medicine? Yes. Feng Jixing stretched out his arm lazily, almost hitting Wei Chao's face. He waved his hands in apology and said with a smile, stirring up trouble happens to be my forte. According to the information sent by the brothers of the Imperial Guards, Philae's most treasured people aren't women, but his group of subordinates. There's about 100 of them, and they're called the Charge Camp. These people followed Philae from the Heaven Realm to the Mortal Realm. They're loyal and devoted to Philae, and they're as close as brothers. If we use the Charge Camp to sow discord between Philae and Chen Yu, I'm afraid it'll be enough. How to make use of them is the key. Do you have any ideas? Lin Muyu said in a low voice. Yes. Feng Jixing smiled with confidence and said, Philae has never restricted the Charge Camp, so when the 100 people of the Charge Camp arrived at Shiping Prefecture, they immediately looted some mansions and collected gold, silver, jewelry, and beautiful women from all over the place. The charge camp also likes the women from good families. As far as I know, Shiping Prefecture consumes a lot of resources every day, and a large amount of resources are transported from the former Celestial Empire's Laohan City. 3 days later, a batch of weavers from Laohan City will arrive at Shiping Prefecture. There are about 2,000 of them, and they're all young women who know how to work. They're responsible for preparing clothing and flags for war. Why don't we start with these women, and encourage the soldiers of the charge camp to snatch these women as concubines? Although Chen Yu is the marshal of the great Shang dynasty, he's still the former king of Laohan City. The Celestial Empire is Chen Yu's flesh and blood, and also his reverse scale. Once the charge camp touches these weavers, Chen Yu will definitely punish the people of the charge camp in a rage. Filet won't let the matter rest. It'll be strange if the two sides don't fight. After hearing this, Lin Muyu took a deep breath and praised sincerely, in terms of stirring up trouble, I'm really far behind Brother Feng. In comparison, I'm really simple-minded. Feng Jixing smiled and said, I only thought of this idea occasionally. Do you think I'm a scheming person? Actually, I'm also very simple-minded. Xiang Yu held the black tea in his hands and said coldly, you two are too modest. Tang Zhen also held back his laughter and said, after listening to Lin General and General Feng's words, Tang Zhen feels that this world is not simple. Everything is not what it seems on the surface. This subordinate admires you very much. Only Ling Hu Yen frowned and said, but, the price of this sowing discord is the thousands of weaver maids. They are poor people to begin with. This is too unfair to them. Lin General, do we really have to do this? Lin Muyu gently held her teacup with both hands and said, if the innocence of these 2,000 weaver maids can be exchanged for an unprecedented victory, then this business is very worth it. For now, there is no better way. If we don't do this, then the price may be the lives of hundreds of thousands of great Qin soldiers. As the marshal, I must protect my subordinates. Otherwise, what right do I have to sit in this position as a goody two-shoes? Ling Hu Yen smiled slightly and said, perhaps Lin General is right. There must be trade-offs. There has always been trade-offs. Lin Muyu looked meaningfully at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi in the distance and said, as we live in this world, we are always faced with one choice after another. As long as there is a choice, there will be a sacrifice. There are no absolute good and bad people in this world. All I can do is follow my heart and do what I think is right. Feng Jixing stood up and tucked the golden helmet under his armpit. He said with a smile, don't be such a busybody. Those who achieve great things should not be bothered by trifles. If we have decided to do this, then I will immediately start planning. I'm afraid it will be too late. Once those weaver maids enter the city, everything will be over. Lin Muyu nodded, go ahead and do it. Yes, Lin General. Wait a moment. Lin Muyu suddenly said. What is it, Lin General? Feng Jixing turned and asked. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, if possible, tell the news to Chen Yu before the charge camp has the chance to defile those weaver maids. Ask Chen Yu to do a good deed for us. Yes, your subordinate understands. Feng Jixing turned and left. Ling Hu Yen pursed her red lips and looked at Tang Zhen beside her. She said softly, husband, do you also think we should do this? Tang Zhen was slightly startled and remained silent. What is it? Nothing. Tang Zhen smiled and said softly in a low voice, perhaps General Feng is right. Those who achieve great things should not be bothered by trifles. Being overcautious will eventually lead to a disaster and implicate the entire empire. Lin General and General Feng are both swift and decisive people. It is a great misfortune for those 2,000 weaver maids to meet such opponents. However, for the people of the Qin Empire, it is a great fortune to have such a military commander. Without such outstanding people, I'm afraid this world will have to fight for many more years and many more people will die. Linghu Yan nodded and no longer had any objections. She only looked at Tang Zhen's mottled sideburns and felt an indescribable pain and discomfort. Chapter 1138. 2 days later, Shiping City. Even though a great battle was about to arrive, this bustling city was still filled with the atmosphere of singing and dancing to celebrate peace. At night, lanterns were lit up on the main street, causing the entire street to seem like fireworks. Various restaurants were open for business, and in the most famous restaurant, a group of tall and sturdy men were drinking without end. The charging camp was Philae's most valiant army. The group of people were already drunk, and their arms were bare as they talked loudly. The concubines I bought yesterday are really strong, very spicy. Sigh, the concubines I bought are all from brothels, damn, so boring. The entire Shiping prefecture is under the control of Marshal Chenyu, who would dare to rob them? I heard that even Lord Philae's 3 concubines were released because of the marshal's orders. Shoo, lower your voice. At this moment, a shifty-eyed waiter came upstairs, holding a jug of wine in his hand. He said, "My lords, the drunken immortal has just been warmed up. Come, come, have a taste. All right, bring it over and let us have a look. If the wine isn't good, I'll smash your shop. I'll make sure you all are satisfied." Humph. A few of the charging camp soldiers took a sip of the drunken immortal and immediately clicked their tongues. Good, good, it really is good wine. That's right. The waiter said complacently, "This drunken immortal is a peerless product from the heavenly Zhou Empire's scorching Han city. It's brewed with the water of snowy mountains and rare fruits. It's just like the beauties of our scorching Han city." "Oh, you're from scorching Han city?" "Yes." "Are the beauties of scorching Han city really as good as the rumors say?" "Of course." The waiter was about to leave when a burly man grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back. The burly man was already drunk. He laughed and said, "Kid, tell me, where can I get the beauties of scorching Han city?" "You can't buy them, can you?" The waiter panicked. "Sir, please let go of me first." The burly man loosened his grip. "Tell me, if you don't give me a good explanation today, I'll strangle you to death." The waiter nodded repeatedly. I'll tell you. If you want to get your hands on the beauties of Scorching Frost City, you either have to go to Scorching Frost City or, there's another way." "What is it?" 2 days later, a group of weaver maids from Scorching Cold City will enter Shiping Prefecture. They pass through the forest of no return and will be protected by about a battalion of soldiers. These weaver maids are all good people. Gentlemen, this is all I know. Are you sure it's 2 days later? Yes, the store has an appointment letter for the accompanying officers. Humph. Let's go. This is none of your business. Yes. The waiter scrambled down the stairs, but there was a faint smile on his face. He thought to himself, my acting skills are really top-notch. 2 days later. At noon, there was chaos in the forest outside the city. Someone dared to charge into the camp and attack the army from Scorching Cold City, kidnapping nearly 1,000 women. The news spread like wildfire, and in less than 2 hours, it had already reached Shiping Prefecture. They're rebelling. They're rebelling. Chenyu slammed his palm on the table and said, how dare they kidnap women in broad daylight? Are there any military laws? Are there any laws? I will not tolerate this group of black sheep who have violated military discipline any longer. Men, order the military police battalion to move out. Arrest all those involved in the robbery and murder of Scorching Cold City soldiers. There will be no mercy. Yes, Marshal. A staff officer walked forward and said in a low voice, Marshal, those involved in the robbery seem to be from the Chong camp. Those are Philae's men. Marshal, are you really going to act against Philae's men? Do it. Do it now. Chen Yu said fiercely, as a marshal, if I can't even protect the people of Scorching Cold City, what kind of marshal am I? But, this is most likely Lin Muyu's evil plan. Marshal, please look at the bigger picture and not be angered by Lin Muyu. Humph. Chen Yu gritted his teeth. Even if it's Lin Muyu's plan to sow discord, can Lin Muyu order the Chong camp to kill the soldiers of Scorching Cold City? He can't. It's Fillet, that bastard, who's condoning his men. Arrest them, find out who killed them, and behead them without mercy. I'll give up my position as marshal. If we lose this battle, we lose. It's none of my business. Forget it, I'll go arrest them myself. Yes, Marshal. For the entire afternoon, Chen Yu led the military police battalion to arrest people. Those who confessed were killed on the spot. In one afternoon, they killed nearly 40 soldiers of the Chong camp. It was only in the evening that Felix and Jean Chong returned from their hunting trip. When they heard about this incident, they flew into a rage. Under Felix's command, 5,000 cavalrymen immediately attacked. In less than the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, they surrounded the entire Shiping prefecture. They even forced Chen Yu's 500 guards to disarm and surrender. Bang! The second door of the meeting hall was kicked open by Fillet. This time, Chen Yu sat calmly on the marshal's throne. He looked coldly at Fillet. He knew that Fillet would definitely come. You killed my brothers? Fillet asked calmly. They disobeyed military law and should be executed. Chen Yu said calmly, Fillet, you brought people to surround the marshal's residence. Are you trying to rebel? Don't forget, I'm a marshal conferred by Emperor Shang. If you kill me, you'll be making an enemy out of Emperor Shang. I won't kill you. Fillet suppressed his murderous intent and laughed coldly. His laughter made one's hair stand on end. He looked deeply at Chen Yu and said, however, I have found some letters between you and Lin Muyu. I heard that you want to surrender Shiping City and lead 1,000,000 soldiers to Qin. Is this true? That's a fantasy. Why would I surrender to my mortal enemy? Don't tell me you can't even see through such a simple plot to sow discord, Lord Fillet. Both sides were in a tit-for-tat situation. Fillet remained calm. He smiled and said, I don't want to know whether it's true or not. However, I do know that you have twice the number of soldiers, yet you refuse to fight. You're holed up in this small Shiping city and want to defend. I wonder if this counts as delaying the battle? Delaying the battle? Chen Yu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Fillet, you keep saying that I'm delaying the battle, but do you really understand the art of war? Demonic flames revolved around Felix's body as his aura pressed down, causing Chen Yu's entire body to tremble. Felix lowered his head and stared at Chen Yu as he faintly said, Marshal, since you don't dare to fight, how about letting this subordinate take your place to command this battle? You'll be delaying the Shang dynasty. Is that so? Fillet laughed coldly. Why don't we make a bet? What bet? I'll lead the attack. I, Fillet, will let you, Chen Yu, know the power of my army. I'll let you know how weak the enemy is. If I, Fillet, win this battle, you'll hand over your military power. If I lose, I'll hand over my military power and willingly listen to your commands. What do you think? You underestimate Lin Muyu. Chen Yu couldn't help but laugh. Good. 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 I promise you, as long as you can win this battle, I'll hand over my position and let you take it. It's a deal. Felix turned around and led his subordinates out of the marshal's mansion. The staff officers crowded around him and started talking at once. Marshal, you can't give up your military power. Fillet is just a brute. How can he have the right to take up such a heavy responsibility? Marshal, don't be rash. Chen Yu sat there in a daze. Suddenly, a bright light shot out from his eyes. He said calmly, Lin Muyu, you won't lose so easily, right? You must have a trump card, right? Will you lose? Will you really lose? His voice suddenly trembled. On the 1st of December, it was the 22nd day since Lin Muyu led the 350,000 soldiers to Changyuan Island. More than half of the military rations supplied by Lulu had been consumed, but the battle had not officially started. Everyone was getting anxious. Every day, hundreds of people came to Lin Muyu to take the initiative to attack Shiping Port. In the marshal's tent, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were sipping black tea. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were reading the tactics of the war god. Buzz buzz buzz, a small bee flew over and stopped on the table in front of Lin Muyu. It was impossible to have a bee in this cold winter. This could only mean that it was a scout bee sent by Lulu. Speak, Lin Muyu said. The bee flapped its wings. Suddenly, a light was projected from its back. Su Jiantao's figure appeared. He bowed respectfully and said, Lin General, there's the latest military information on the East Coast. Speak. The Shang army is gathering. It is said that they have gathered a total of nearly 2,000 warships. Based on this estimation, they will send at least 200,000 soldiers. I have arranged a spy to send a letter. According to the Chong camp, the initiators of this attack are Filei and Jin Chong. Their target is my Green Rock Island. Are they finally going to make a move? Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. That's great. Immediately order the 3 armies to prepare for battle. Surround them from 3 sides. Let Filei have a life to come but not a life to leave. No, wait first. Lin Muyu raised her hand to stop him. Feng Jixing and Su Jiantao were startled. Why? You don't intend to fight? Lin Muyu's brows furrowed. No. It is just that if there are only 2,000 warships, this means that it is not the main force. Moreover, it is only Filei's fleet. This means that Chunyu is still not moving. This is not an attack but more like a probe. Didn't they say that Filei and Chunyu have completely broken off? What is going on? Feng Jixing said, we are unable to find out the specific situation that day. We do not know what is going on. No matter, we cannot fight this battle. We only have one chance to fish. If we want to fish, we have to fish big. Then, what should we do? Su Jiantao was at a loss. Fight. Lin Muyu said, but we can only lose, not win. Su Jiantao, you will only send the warships equipped with steam engines to fight. After a while, use the speed of the steam engines to escape. If Filei's fleet pursues us, continue to report to me. If he doesn't, then wait for a bigger fish. Yes, Lin General. Su Jiantao was also a famous general. His mind was sharp and he quickly saw through Lin Muyu's intentions. He smiled and said, Filei's army has always been arrogant. This subordinate will use my defeat to add fuel to the fire. Chapter 1139. On the morning of the 2nd day, snowflakes started to fall from the sky. The dense snowflakes seemed to have covered the sea with a thin layer of fog. As a result, the situation several hundred meters away could no longer be seen clearly. The gurgling water constantly lapped against the sides of the warships. The dragon-shaped flag of the Longdan army camp fluttered in the wind. 500 ships appeared in the sea in a square formation. From afar, the rumbling sound of war drums could be heard. Filei's fleet had arrived. Lord, quickly look. The deputy general pointed into the distance. Su Jiantao squinted his eyes. His gaze pierced through the curtain of snow. About 600 to 700 meters away, he could vaguely see the traces of the Celestial Pole's land warships. They were actually so close. The enemy is about to enter the firing range of our magic crystal cannons. Should we attack now? The deputy general asked. No. Su Jiantao shook his head. Let them get closer. The magic crystal cannons of the Shang army are all passed down from the three empires. Most of them are crudely made and their effective firing range is not more than 600 meters. Let them open fire first before we retaliate. Beat the drums and relay the order. The warships on both sides are to move closer to the center and cover the flagship. Don't let the flagship be completely exposed to the enemy's firing range. Yes, Lord. The rumbling sound of the war drums could be heard. The flag bearers on the observation deck of the flagship were also waving their flags to the surroundings. However, the curtain of snow was very thick. The other warships might not be able to see it clearly. They could only coordinate with the sound of the drums. In the fleet of the Shang army, 2,200 warships were spread out on the surface of the sea, stretching for nearly 5 miles. They were approaching the Shang army at high speed, as if they were going to swallow the Shang army whole. Their flagship was a warship wrapped in black iron sheets. There were countless archers on the warship, and it was also equipped with 2 excellent magic crystal cannons. Those were the heavy cannons that the Tianji Empire's army had seized from the Lingdong province. Philae sat on a huge chair with a sharp sword in his hand. He looked into the distance and said, "Observer, report back to me how many warships and soldiers they have." Reporting to Vice Commander, "I can't see clearly. The snow is too heavy. However, the sound of the drums is very dense. There should be quite a number of soldiers. Furthermore, the flag of the enemy is the flag of the Longdan army camp. They should be Lin Muyu's main force if they dare to fight us." Lin Muyu's main force? Philae couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Beat the drums, full speed attack. Order the warships on both wings to advance at full speed, outflank their formation, and form an encirclement. Today, I will make Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing die without a burial." Yes. The drums grew louder. The sailors pushed the oars with all their might, and the ship moved forward quickly. At the same time, the huge cannons in the snow curtain pointed forward and spat out fire. For a moment, purple mushroom clouds rose up from the sea in the distance. Some of the heavy cannons even hit their targets directly, causing the warships of the Longdan army camp to collapse instantly and sink rapidly. Ha ha ha. That's it. Full speed ahead, attack. Jin Chong raised his spear and stood next to Philae. He laughed loudly and said, "This time, we will let that coward Chen Yu know how weak his opponent is." A group of soldiers on the flagship raised their weapons and cheered. For a moment, the morale of the Shang army's fleet soared. Boom, 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 in the distance, the warships of the Longdan army camp finally returned fire. In just one volley, a dozen of the Shang army's warships had been hit by the cannons and caught fire. Some even had their ammunition depots destroyed, and the magic crystal cannons detonated, instantly shattering into pieces and sinking. "Move faster!" Philae roared angrily. Jin Chong narrowed his eyes and said, "It seems like we can't catch up, Vice Commander. These cowardly Qin army warships seem to be retreating. They are only using their tail cannons to bombard us. Damn it, I don't care that much. Attack!" "Yes." A captaincy at the side said anxiously, "Vice Commander, many of our warships have been hit by the cannons and are sinking. Should we stop and rescue those soldiers who have fallen into the water?" "Stop what?" "Let the warships at the back go and rescue them. The first warships, continue forward and chase after the enemy." "Yes." However, the warships of the Longdan army camp kept a distance of nearly 600 meters, causing the accuracy of the heavy cannons of the Shang army to be extremely poor. On the other hand, the heavy cannons of the Longdan army camp seemed to be possessed by ghosts and gods. Under the continuous bombardment, no less than 100 warships of the Shang army had been hit. The magic crystal cannons were extremely powerful. Even the iron-clad warships had their armor melted and sank rapidly. "Damn it," Philae suddenly stood up and drew his sword. He said, "I told you to run." I will make sure you have nowhere to run. Vice Commander, what are you doing? Jin Chong was shocked. You guard the flagship. I will be right back. Felix bellowed, and his whole body was covered in demonic flames. He instantly entered the demonic godlike state and flew along the surface of the sea like a bolt of lightning. His long sword buzzed and trembled, and the biting cold sword chi that was filled with demonic chi instantly bombarded the rear of a battleship of the Valiant Dragon Battalion. Immediately, the deck of the battleship collapsed, and two medium-sized magic crystal cannons were instantly torn apart. The entire tail of the battleship also disappeared. Ha ha ha, come, Philae didn't stop and charged forward. The demonic flames spread out on the surface of the sea. He began to use his domain power to control the direction of the ocean current. Instantly, a 3-meter-tall wave cut off the retreat of the Longdan army camp's fleet. The huge wave swept over and pushed the warships towards the Shang army's fleet. At least 100 warships were in danger. All of you, die. Philae's eyes glowed fiercely. His entire being was filled with hostility. Archers, aim and fire. Magic crystal cannons, aim at that person. The nearby Longdan army camp warships turned their cannons. In the next moment, arrows rained down on Philae's protective aura. What was even worse was that the magic crystal cannons fired more than 10 consecutive shots at Philae's position. For a moment, purple light soared into the sky and exploded a huge whirlpool on the surface of the sea. However, Philae wasn't hit. His flying speed was too fast. The sword in his hand carried an awe-inspiring glow as he pounced towards the flagship of the Longdan army camp. The warship with the bronze tiger standing on its bow. He's here. The people on the flagship were shocked. Only Su Jiantao remained calm. He said, "Archers, shoot him with the demonic heart arrow immediately after I activate the heavenly book." As he spoke, Su Jiantao suddenly raised the sword in his hand. Immediately, the power of heaven and earth flowed, instantly triggering the power of the heavenly book. With a buzzing sound, raging flames spread out. It was a middle-grade heavenly book of the law of fire. However, what Su Jiantao didn't expect was that Philae's figure suddenly disappeared midway. The next moment, he appeared less than 3 meters away. "Commander, be careful." A figure quickly appeared in front of Su Jiantao. It was Nangong Lai, one of the top experts of the Dragon League. He was also one of the experts who maintained the cultivation of the sanctuary realm. The sharp sword in Nangong Lai's hand surged with the king's combat flame. He slashed at Philae's longsword head-on. "Get lost." Philae's strength was too domineering and vigorous. With a bang, the two swords collided. Nangong Lai's longsword was actually knocked out of his hand, and his body flew out like a cannonball. With a bang, bang, bang sound, he crashed into countless wooden boards and cabins, lying in a mess in a sorry state. If Nangong Lai had half of his cultivation in the past, it would be enough to suppress Philae. Unfortunately, the righteous path had declined, and most of Nangong Lai's cultivation had also disappeared. Die. Faced with the dense arrows around him, Philae suddenly swung his sword, instantly killing several nearby archers. He continued to look fiercely at Su Jiantao, who was wearing the commander's battle robe, and said with a hideous smile, "You are Lin Muyu? I want you dead." Sword formation. Su Jiantao shouted in a low voice, and more than a dozen Longdan army camp experts behind him pounced on him. With flashing swords, they went straight for Philae. Although Philae had the absolute advantage in strength, he did not dare to underestimate the sword formation. These sharp swords were tempered with demonic heart stones. Once they were scratched, they would become ordinary people. Then, they would be at the mercy of others. With a fall, Philae stepped on the deck and directly fell into the warehouse below the deck. A cold light flashed over his head. The power of the sword formation was indeed not to be underestimated. Boom! With wooden debris flying out, Fillet swept his longsword horizontally. Nearly 5 meters of sword chi swept across, and suddenly, the abdomens of 3 Longdan army camp experts were cut by the sword chi, and they fell straight down. This Fillet was completely invincible. "Protect the Lord!" Everyone shouted in unison, and the crossbowmen continued to shoot and kill. Roar, roar! With a sudden roar, a huge creature ran out of the cabin, and swept its sharp claws that were filled with Xian energy towards Fillet. It was the Beeman King. When Fillet turned around, he was shocked by the appearance of the huge beast in front of him. He hurriedly raised his longsword to protect himself. Pang! A strong vibration came from the blade of the sword. The Beeman King's attack actually made Fillet retreat several meters, and the devil aura around him gradually weakened. Although the demon god was powerful, there were many experts on this flagship. "What are you?" Fillet laughed sinisterly, and suddenly, a huge purple figure appeared behind him. It was the demon body that belonged to the demon god, and also the source of Fillet's power. He had already planned to use the power of the demon body to kill the Beeman King. At this moment, 2 swoosh swoosh sounds were heard, and 2 figures appeared on the left and right of the Beeman King. It was Ice Palm Wutong and Fire Fist Zhengjian. One was ice and one was fire, and the raging flames reverberated and surged, giving off an imposing aura. Su Jiantao's eyes were deep, and he lightly waved his arm, sword shield formation, assist the battle. In the middle of the warship, a group of fully armored experts rapidly attacked. Their swords were biting cold, and there was a faint luster on their heavy armors. They were all engraved equipment, and this group of people wasn't easy to deal with. Fillet suddenly laughed loudly, and his eyes were filled with contempt. "Fighting with numbers? Interesting, Grandpa won't play with you guys anymore." He leaped up, and the shuttle flew through the curtain of snow. No one could stop this Lionheart demon god. "Are you alright, Nangong Lai?" Su Jiantao helped Nangong Lai up from the mess. Nangong Lai's face and body had many abrasions, and his palm was bleeding from the impact. He shook his head weakly. "I won't die." "Commander, quickly command the battle." "Okay." Su Jiantao ordered the military doctor to take care of Nangong Lai, and he went to the deck. He looked around at the blazing flames, and the scene of countless warships on fire, and said, "Continue to retreat at full speed, and don't stop the bombardment." The flag bearer passed down the order, "Tell the soldiers on the burning warships not to resist stubbornly. Everyone, board the small boats and retreat, and leave the big ships to the Shang army." "Yes." Chapter 1140. After close to 2 hours of bombardment and pursuit, under the gloomy dark clouds, the sea was illuminated by the flames of war. The entire battlefront stretched for close to 10 li. Everywhere were burning and sinking warships, as well as soldiers struggling in the sea. The waves surged, dragging lives into the depths of the sea. No matter how tragic the human battle was, the sea still maintained its grace and ruthlessness. Boom! With a precise artillery strike, another Shang army warship in the distance was blown into 2. The hull of the ship sank rapidly, and the soldiers' cries for help rose one after another. "Retreat at full speed." Su Jiantao's arm was injured by the bombardment. Holding on to the injured part, he gazed into the distance and said, "We can't let the enemy fleet chase after us like this. Otherwise, we will be devoured. Retreat at full speed. Order the steam-powered warships to increase their speed to the maximum." "Yes." Amidst the rumbling sounds, the propellers at the bottom of the ship rotated rapidly, bringing the warships away from the Shang army's bombardment area. It was close to noon. Su Jiantao looked around. The remaining Imperial warships were retreating quickly. Many of them were damaged, and some were even on fire. Fortunately, most of the soldiers who fell into the water had escaped on small boats. They wouldn't leave any captives for the enemy. What was left behind were only heavily damaged warships and warriors who had died in battle. They are increasing their speed. On the Shang army's flagship, the deputy general had a look of astonishment. What the hell are those Qin army warships? How can they maintain such a high speed even when the wind is against them? They seem to be some machines. Jin Chong said. Filet's eyes were cold. It doesn't matter. These wretched trash won't live for long. Continue to chase after them until all of them are sunk. Yes. Filet deployed close to 1,000 warships to chase after Su Jintao's troops. Although they were getting further and further away, it seemed that Filet had already decided to chase after them to Greenstone Island. In the afternoon, the snow was getting heavier and heavier. Filet's warship had also sailed into a region of the sea that he had never entered before. In the distance, a towering rocky island appeared. The island was very small, about the size of a ship. Be careful. An experienced human captaincy said, there might be submerged reefs in this area. Our battleship is carrying a lot of people, so it'll be troublesome if we hit the reefs. Jin Chong said, the Qin army's warships passed by here, what are you afraid of? If they can pass through, so can we. Don't be afraid, continue to chase after them. Yes, just as he finished speaking, a warship about 100 meters away suddenly stopped with a bang, and then began to sink slowly. The soldiers on the ship screamed in fear. Sure enough, they had hit the rocks. Soon, the second, third, and fourth battleships appeared. The entire fleet fell into chaos. There were many reefs in the water, and no one knew how many there were. Your Excellency Filet, we can't continue to pursue them. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll all be buried here. This is the sinister plot of the Qin army. They deliberately led us here, why didn't they hit the reef? Maybe they left some kind of mark, a bunch of good-for-nothings, why didn't they survey the terrain of the sea in advance? Captaincy was speechless. Retreat. Filet looked angry, retreat, go back to the port. Take our captured warships and trophies, go back to the port. Yes. After nightfall, dragging the heavily injured warships of the Qin Empire back to the port of Shiping, Filet's troops showed off their strength. No matter what the losses were, at least this time the Qin Empire's army fled. Yu Shu sent the news back to Shiping Prefecture. What? Chen Yu, who had just fallen asleep, sat up in shock. The Qin Empire's fleet was defeated? Yes. The staff officer outside the door said respectfully, it was a crushing defeat. According to the statistics of the Military Service Office, Filet's troops sank nearly 200 enemy warships, captured 11 warships, 32 magic crystal cannons on the warships, and countless magic crystal shells. In addition, the army collected the corpses and got more than 1,000 corpses of the Qin army. In addition, it is said that most of the corpses have been swept away by the waves. The number of enemies killed in this battle should be more than 70,000. 70,000. 70,000, Chen Yu was stunned. After thinking for a while, he suddenly thought of something and suddenly punched the edge of the bed. He was so sad that he almost cried, it's over, it's all over, Marshal, are you okay? The staff officer was shocked. Chen Yu gritted his teeth, Lin Muyu will really be defeated. This despicable guy is so shameless. My God, how can there be such a trick in the world? Why? Marshal, it's over, it's over. The Shang dynasty is really over. Shiping Prefecture can't be defended anymore. Shiping Prefecture can't be defended anymore, Marshal, why do you say so? Chen Yu trembled all over and said, Filet is already on his way back victorious. The first thing he will do when he returns to Shiping Prefecture is to take away my military power. How can we not be defeated by handing over millions of troops to this brute? With Filet's resourcefulness, even 10 Filets can't beat one Lin Muyu. Moreover, there are famous generals like Feng Jixing, Su Jiantao, and Qian Feng. It's over. Xishan province is finished. Marshal. The staff officer's eyes shone and he said, since Marshal has concluded that Fillet is no match for Lin Muyu, why not preserve his strength? You should know, these soldiers are the heart of the empire. We can't let Fillet, this brute, lose them all. How do we preserve them? The staff officer smiled faintly. Among the millions of troops, close to 200,000 belong to the Heaven's End Corps of Scorching Han City. Marshal, while the Marshal's seal is still in your hands, why don't you issue a military order and order Huang Wanxin, the commander of this corps, to lead them out of Shiping City? Just say that a war has broken out between the Fire Element Province and the Forest of No Return with the demonic spirit race. Send Huang Wanxin to the demonic spirit race. This way, we can preserve the original strength of the Heaven's End Corps. Moreover, if we are defeated, the responsibility will be on Fillet. It will have nothing to do with you. Good. Chen Yu's eyes lit up. I order you to do this overnight. The army must leave Shiping City before dawn tomorrow. Yes. After a night of hurried marching, the 200,000 troops of the Heaven's End Corps left Shiping City. This also resolved one of Chen Yu's worries. The next morning, Fillet and Jin Chong led the victorious army back to Shiping City. They ordered the commoners to line the streets to welcome them. It was extremely lively. In Shiping Prefecture, when Fillet, Jin Chong, and the others entered the mansion with a smug look on their faces, they saw Chen Yu leading a group of staff officers towards them. He held the marshal's seal in his hand and knelt on one knee. Lord Fillet is mighty. Chen Yu humbly admits defeat and requests to hand over the marshal's seal. From now on, the 800,000 troops of Shiping Prefecture will be under your command. Well said, well said. Fillet was a little carried away. He smiled and said, I did not expect the marshal to willingly give up his position. However, since I am the marshal, you will be my deputy marshal. From now on, we will work together and serve Emperor Shang. Yes. Jin Chong frowned. Wait a minute, Marshal. Why is it 800,000 troops? Shouldn't it be 1,000,000? Oh, the day before yesterday, the garrison of Huiyuan province fought with the demonic spirit race in the Forest of No Return and suffered a crushing defeat. The demonic spirit race led the demonic spirit race to counterattack Huiyuan province. Therefore, I sent Huang Wanyan to lead 200,000 troops to Huiyuan province to resist the demonic spirit race. After all, there is a large amount of military rations stored in Huiyuan city. We cannot lose them. I see. Jin Chong did not think too much about it. Chen Yu continued, congratulations to the marshal for your victory. I heard that you killed 70,000 of Lin Muyu's troops, but how many troops did you lose? Felix furrowed his brows and said, about 30,000 soldiers and 150 warships were lost. That many? Fillet was a little displeased. How can there be no casualties in a war? Don't forget that we killed 70,000 enemies, and Lin Muyu's troops were originally only half of ours. If every battle is like this, I'm afraid that after 3 to 5 battles, Lin Muyu will have to fight on her own. The marshal is right. Chen Yu bowed his head and congratulated him, but his eyes were full of sorrow. How many 800,000 troops would be left in the hands of a brute like Fillet? No one knew. 2 days later, the news reached Changyuan Island. The marshal's tent was filled with laughter. Feng Jixing laughed so hard that he almost cried. Damn, Su Jiantao only lost less than 2,000 men, was wounded, and sank 39 warships. But Fillet said that 70,000 men died and 200 warships were sunk. What a joke. I've never seen such a shameless person like Fillet, ha ha ha, Wei Chou said. Since Fillet has already taken the marshal's seal, it seems that the general attack will be coming soon. Yes. Lin Muyu smiled meaningfully and said, Fillet needs to make a contribution. In 3 days, he will definitely gather 1,000,000 troops to attack, and he will destroy Su Jiantao's troops on Greenstone Island. The opportunity we have been waiting for 27 days is finally coming. Tang Zhen, Xiang Yu, and the others all became solemn. Please give the order, Lin General. We are ready. Yes. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, we will divide our troops into 5 groups. Su Jiantao will lead the first group to lure the enemy in and bring the enemy's main fleet from Greenstone Island to Changyuan Island. Qianfeng will lead the second group to attack from Jiufeng Island and intercept the enemy's fleet midway. I will lead the third group with 200,000 troops and attack from the front. Feng Jixing will lead the fourth group with 100,000 troops and set off one day in advance from the south of Greenstone Island and cut off the enemy's retreat from the southeast. Commander Tang Zhen will lead 50,000 troops and set off in 2 days to the sea area 100 miles east of Jiufeng Island and wait for an opportunity. Yes. Everyone nodded. Only Tang Zhen was a little surprised. Marshal, you asked me to set off in advance. What is my mission? Wait for my order. Once Philae's 800,000 troops leave Shipping Port, you must lead the fleet to bombard Shipping Port in half a day and seize the port. Completely cut off Philae's retreat so that they have nowhere to go. Yes. Tang Zhen cupped his hands and nodded. He admired Lin Muyu from the bottom of his heart. It turned out that Lin Muyu had already planned everything. Si Kongyao sat on the side with her beautiful eyes full of charm. She silently watched Lin Muyu arrange the troops and felt indescribable joy in her heart. She really couldn't see through Lin Muyu. She couldn't understand what kind of person Lin Muyu was. How could she be so lovable? All girls wanted a hero in their hearts, and Lin Muyu almost completely met all the requirements. No wonder so many girls in Yanlan City regarded this young and promising marshal as the only man in this life. Chapter 1141. On the 5th of December, Marshal Philae of the Great Shang Empire in the Celestial Pole continent ordered the mobilization of all the troops in Xishan province. With a military order, he mobilized 300,000 garrison troops from the former Blackstone Empire's Qianshan city, totaling 1,000,000 troops to Shiping Prefecture. It was a mighty move, as if it could cut off the flow with a flick of the whip. At the same time, Philae mobilized almost all the large and small warships of the Shang Empire, totaling more than 6,500 ships. Even many heavy fishing boats were installed with cannons and arrow towers, transforming them into temporary warships. Hundreds of thousands of civilian workers were recruited to work day and night. The news reached Changyuan Island. The heavy snow was still falling. On the eastern coast of Changyuan Island, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and the others were patrolling on warhorses. In the distant sea, warships were practicing their battle formations on the water, and battle cries rose and fell. Philae has almost finished preparing everything. He'll definitely come in half a month, Wei Chou said. I've been waiting for him for a long time, Lin Muyu said with a meaningful smile. Feng Jixing patted the snow on his shoulder and said, there's another piece of news. I don't know if it's true or not, but it should be true. Chen Yu secretly ordered his 200,000 Heaven's End Corps to leave Shiping Prefecture and go to Huyuan Province. This Chen Yu is really scheming. He should have seen through our plan, so he wants to preserve his strength, 200,000 Heaven's End Corps? Lin Muyu frowned. Who's commanding it? Huang Wanxin, an unknown person. The Celestial Empire is full of talented people. We can't underestimate them. Lin Muyu exhaled and asked, Big Brother Feng, is there any news about Chen Yu in our military intelligence? Will he continue to stay in Shiping Prefecture and fight on the sea with Philae, or will he leave? Feng Jixing smiled. Philae left 8,000 old, weak, sick, and disabled soldiers to defend Shiping Prefecture and ordered Chen Yu to stay in person. That's good news. Yeah, without Chen Yu, our chances of winning the naval battle are even greater. Lin Muyu pulled the reins of her warhorse and turned to look at Tang Zhen, who was not far behind her. "Commander Tang Zhen, come here for a moment." "Lin General, what can I do for you?" Tang Zhen left his beloved wife, Ling Hu Yen, stepped forward, cupped his fists, and said respectfully, "Your subordinate is here. Shiping Prefecture will be guarded by Chen Yu and 8,000 soldiers. Chen Yu is not a simple person. Once you take down Shiping Port, do not act rashly. Wait for the main force of the army to arrive before attacking Shiping City. Do you understand?" "Yes," this subordinate obeys. Ling Hu Yen also rode over. With a worried look in her eyes, she said, "Your Highness the next time there's a war, please don't let my husband be the vanguard. He's already over 50 years old, and he can't stand too many fierce battles and bumps. Please understand, Your Highness." She often couldn't change the way she addressed Lin Muyu as Your Highness you. Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ling Hu, in fact, Tang Zhen's mission is the simplest and safest. With Filet's bravery and strategy, he will definitely stake everything on a decisive battle on the sea. The battle on the sea is the most dangerous. On the contrary, Commander Tang Zhen leading a fleet to attack the empty Shiping Port is the safest. If you don't believe me, you can ask Commander Tang Zhen. He is well versed in the art of war and should understand this. Tang Zhen smiled slightly. Ling Hu, Lin General is right. Lin General is taking good care of me by giving me this mission. Of course. You are Shao Shi's uncle and one of the few important ministers of the empire from the era of Qin Jin the Great. I won't let you be cannon fodder. Lin Muyu grinned. Snowflakes swept past and fell on her eyelashes. There was a bit of desolation. She murmured, "Let me be the cannon fodder myself, Lin General, you." Tang Zhen was a little stunned. Feng Jixing smiled faintly. Ling Hu, you don't know. The most dangerous part of this battle is the two baits, Qianfeng and Su Jiantao. The second most dangerous part is the main fleet under Yu's command. After all, Filet has millions of troops. Even if those heads are pumpkins waiting for us to chop, it won't be easy to chop them off. Moreover, they will counterattack and bite us. Ling Hu Yan's shoulders trembled. Your Highness I misunderstood you. I'm sorry, don't say that. Perhaps it was too cold. Lin Muyu shivered. Go back and rest early. It won't take long for the Kingdom of Shang's army to replenish their provisions and ammunition. They will arrive soon. Yes. 4 days later, on the 9th of December, the drums of the Shiping harbor thundered. Hundreds of battleships left the harbor one after another. Because it was a windy day from the northwest, all the battleships lowered their sails and used the manpower of the sailors to step on the oars to move forward. More than 60 large battleships were divided into two groups. One group headed for Jiufeng Island while the other group headed for Greenstone Island. On Changyuan Island, the news came quickly. What? They divided into two groups? Feng Jixing took a deep breath. He looked at Lin Muyu with cold eyes. Oh no. Why did Filet, that idiot, split into two groups? This has messed up our entire plan. It must be Chen Yu's idea. As the saying goes, don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Chen Yu must have thought so. If it weren't for Chen Yu, Filet wouldn't have thought of splitting his forces. Lin Muyu stood woodenly on the platform and released the messenger bird she had just obtained. She took a deep breath and didn't continue to speak. The war is imminent. Marshal, say something. Xiang Yu was a little anxious. Filet split his forces. Even so, each group has 500,000 soldiers. It's enough to destroy our forces. We can't underestimate them. Let's split our forces. Qin Yong, the commander of the Iron Blade Army, cupped his fists and said, if they split their forces, we should also split our forces. The Qin Empire has strong ships and powerful cannons. Why should we be afraid? No, we can't split our forces. Feng Jixing raised his hand and said, once we split our forces, our losses will be inestimable. We only have 450,000 soldiers on the sea. If we fight them all, what can we use to attack Xishan province? If we can't land on the land of the celestial pole continent, our expedition will become meaningless. What else can we do? Qin Yong was very anxious. Feng Jixing was helpless. Behind him, Guan Xing, Lin Sun, Luo Yu, and the others were also silent. In the end, everyone's gazes were focused on Lin Muyu. In the end, it still depended on this marshal of the empire to make a decision. You? Qin Yin wore soft armor and his long robes fluttered in the wind. He looked at Lin Muyu with concern, afraid that everyone would put too much pressure on him and crush his mental state. Lin Muyu muttered to himself for a while and finally raised his head to look at the generals. He said, I have an idea. Once they are about to break away, we will immediately attack. Once they attack, we will immediately escape. We will drag them down like this. Meanwhile, the main fleet will eliminate the other main force of the enemy near Greenstone Island. Once it's eliminated, we will immediately reinforce Qianfeng. There's no need to consider the reserves of the magic crystal cannons. In this battle, we must eliminate the effective forces of the enemy as quickly as possible. Don't take any prisoners in this battle. End the battle quickly. Yes. The eyes of Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, and the others lit up. In the most difficult times, Lin Muyu could always think of an appropriate solution. Immediately pass down the order. Beat the drums and prepare for battle. In another half a day, the armies of Su Jiantao and Qianfeng should already be fighting with the enemy. Yes. The situation of the battle was like a raging fire. There was no room for delay. On the East Sea, the densely packed fleet of the Kingdom of Shang came against the wind. 200 li was only half a day for them. After noon, over 3,000 warships arrived at Greenstone Island. Su Jiantao led nearly 1,000 warships to meet the enemy. The heavy snow had stopped. There was even a ray of sunlight that pierced through the clouds and shone on the surface of the sea. Sunlight, the sun is out. Su Jiantao raised his head and basked in the sunlight. He smiled and said, that's great, that's great. The heavy cannons of the Qin Empire had been improved many times by Qin Xiling and the others. Compared to the heavy cannons of the Kingdom of Shang, it had a longer range, higher accuracy, and greater power. All of these were based on a clear vision. If the vision was sufficient, the heavy magic crystal cannons could accurately hit targets within 2,000 meters. The medium magic crystal cannons could also bombard targets within 1,000 meters. Compared to the heavy cannons of the Kingdom of Shang, the advantage was too great. In the distance, the dense mass of warships was speeding over. At this moment, there was no wind. The speed of the human-driven ships was somewhat frightening. They're here. Nangong Lai seemed a little excited. Ice Palm and Fire Fist stood on either side of Su Jiantao, looking indifferently at the enemy in the distance. Just in time. Su Jiantao raised his bamboo binoculars and squinted his eyes. He said, the enemy's flagship is 4,500 meters away from us. Wait a little longer. Concentrate our firepower on their flagship and destroy Philae's prestige first. Yes. On the mast, the observer reported loudly, Commander, the enemy's flagship is 3,000 meters away from us. The nearest ship is 1,700 meters away. Continue to observe. Yes. After a while, they could even see the flag of the Great Shang hanging on the enemy's flagship. The enemy's flagship is 1,800 meters away. The nearest ship is 1,050 meters away. Transmit the order, the second echelon of warships has begun. Yes. The flag bearer quickly sent out the signal. Instantly, The warships on both sides of Su Jiantao moved their warships horizontally and got into a horizontal firing position. Tongues of fire spewed out. The firing from 1,000 meters away was aimed at the enemy's flagship. Before the sound disappeared, a series of shockwaves exploded from afar. The power of the magic crystal cannons was extremely powerful, sweeping up the wooden planks of the warships and wreaking havoc in all directions. With just one shot, the Shang army fleet in the distance was thrown into disarray. Su Jiantao looked straight at the enemy's flagship and said, "The enemy's flagship is 1,700 meters away. All the main cannons of the first echelon, aim at it. Fire at a distance of 1,600 and 1,800 meters. Fire every half a minute. Attack in echelon and adjust the distance and angle automatically. Cover all possible positions of the enemy's flagship and execute the straddling tactic. Destroy Filet's flagship for this daddy." "Yes, Commander." Peng peng peng, the sound of the cannons was unceasing. In the distance, mushroom clouds bloomed. The attack of the Qin Empire fleet was truly terrifying. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.